Good interest.
I don't read it.
Christ was born across the sea, with a glory in his bosom, that transfigured the sea died to make men holy. Let us live to make men free, while God is marching on.
Boy, oh boy, I remember when they played that during Trump's inauguration, I cried like an infant. I was just waterworks coming out of my ears. It was so beautiful.
I was mostly laughing at the salt mine.
It's always interesting to see people get really angry at one of the more patriotic songs we have. Like, God damn it, I hate being an American. All this freedom.
I know, fuck, right? Fuck the Constitution. Holy cow, man! That march today, Rally for Our Lives.
That was today?
Yeah, they gave the normies back to us. The Goblin tore the Constitution in a photo op.
Literally.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, like
Yes.
Gablina literally tore the Constitution.
Bitch.
I think I'm gonna.
No, man, she's not a bitch. The Goblin's all right.
Yeah,
like,
she's doing her job for us. I'm gonna put that on
That's
the
the
screen.
optics we need them to have.
It's you know what's it's funny is they just keep doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down. They just don't.
Of course, because from their perspective, it's, you know, the harder we push this, the more angry we get, the more people go, oh man, they're serious. We should do what they say.
Here's the screen.
They still haven't.
picture that we're talking about. I have it up on the screen here. Here's La Gobuna de la Sur de Florida tearing up the fucking Constitution. Like,
cousins of David Hogg.
And there's that, and just yesterday there was David Hogg swearing on a video. Like, this is...
The NRA is basically harassing us. I love how they have to throw basically in there, because it's like they're just saying, well, no, you're completely wrong and out of your mind. God, they're bullying me.
The NRA barely does anything. I'm a life NRA member, nice. And there's actual criticism of the NRA within the NRA. Like, and
I'm sure there is,
and it's due mostly to the boomer cucks in the NRA. But the problem with them is not in any way aggression. It's like impotence is the problem with the NRA more often than not. The NRA Institute for Legislative Action is better though, because they take law school graduates there, so there's like fresh blood. But the problem with the NRA, like Fairfax, is all the fucking like Reaganites there.
Yeah, I want to get into this conversation, and I want to hop right on it because I'm so fucking livid about it right now. But we've been last podcast we did all politics, and then before that we did all religion, or not religion, but whatever you. I hate even all the fucking words, because there's so much like nuances and neural connections in our brain. Like I always say, when you say religion, it's like the first thing comes in people's mind is some like nut job fucking screaming from a podium somewhere. But anyway, we did Buddhism the week before last, and then last week we did all politics. So I kind of want to get back into the thing of mixing it up and going in between the two and seeing kind of where they come together, because that's kind of worked out for us. So I remember you mentioned Bernays and Freud versus Jung. That's a good talking point. Just to begin us with, because a lot of my subscribers are people who come on my channel for my meditation videos and my lectures and things like that. So I want to make sure that we catering to the audience here, and I think it's a good format. Anyway, so I want to start with just a discussion about kind of how that we view the nature of reality, and how that what's on the other side of things. People might call it heaven. People might call it the astral plane. Some people say that there's lots of different dimensions. In meditation, when you see the clear light in tantra, you kind of can visit these places. And when you're lucid dreaming and you do your meditation practice, you can go to other dimensions. You can talk to Buddhas and things like that. And
I'm not the biggest fan of the afterlife discussion, but there's one.
That's not what I'm talking about. This is the thing. I don't want people to get the wrong idea. We can talk about that, but what I'm saying is that I think. What I wanted to get at is that when I'm deep in meditation, I'm not here. Like I'm like, my body is sitting there, but I'm not there. Like I'm off somewhere else. And it's like you see it on DMT. It's like there's any psychedelics. There's another world which is kind of inlaid with our world. Like kind of like,
yeah, you just got to change your filters.
Russian dolls.
What I wanted to interject there is there is there's an interesting discussion that happens organically within the topic. The reason I said I'm not a big fan of the afterlife discussion is because there is doctrine on that stuff from like many different places. However, like we're talking DMT, the people report the same thing. So what is this same thing that everybody reports?
Right.
When they're about to die, DMT, which is released when you're about to die, when you're lucid dreaming, also DMT. Or, various like those hallucinogenic meditations, these different things. What is the thing that people, regardless of their position, are seeing, and why are they seeing the same thing? In that discussion, you hear some of the most interesting divergences. You'll hear, Christians saying it's a demonic like thing, construct. You'll hear some of the New Agers say that you're seeing the singularity like in time, like it's a place where time itself has been already bridged. You're looking at Z already.
Okay, that's good. Exactly. I think that's also another important thing to talk about, the differences that people do, because that's kind of funny to me. because the way that I perceive it is that like this itself, reality is kind of like a really slowed down dream. And it's like in a lucid dream, like your mind, you can move, you can fly, you can edit and augment, and which is one of the four first beginning stages in dream yoga before you come to like full awakening in your dream. And I've only had this happen like a couple times where actually where I went to like literally had like visions of like sacred texts and seeing like dakinis and these other figures. That only happened to me like one time, but there's lots of times when I'm lucid dreaming since I've been practicing where I do my practice when I'm when I'm dreaming, like visualizing a little tiny white light in the center of your chest, or like moving things like with your mind and stuff like that. So it seems to me like there's a process which our minds are kind of melded into what you said, like the Zed, in that realm. And then here we kind of get stuck like Plato's cave thing. We're seeing the shadows on the wall and we just get stuck in our chain. And it's kind of just like we're dumped here and we don't know what we are and where we're doing or where we're going and what this is. And it's funny to me that people make all these like crazy statements like like you take psychedelics and you're seeing hell. Like that's some really basic tier thinking, but humanity kind of hasn't really gone to... I
don't know if it's necessarily that crazy thinking. I think that they might be jumping the gun a bit. For example, I haven't heard this reported, but I've always been curious if there was a Christian that before taking DMT, because there are churches that do ayahuasca, even in the United States, they incorporate it as part of the church service. You show up, you start doing the singing or whatever right when you're drinking it, and then you sort of trip into the sermon. And that actually exists, and these churches are real.
That's cool.
I've wondered if they've ever asked to see hell. Like not saying I saw hell inadvertently, but saying I want to see hell. Sort of like when they say Jesus died, saw hell before resurrection. If there was ever a Christian that took psychedelics wanting to experience that himself.
That would be quite bold, I think, for a Christian. Then again, I think we make a lot of generalizations about Christians. We tend to think of them as being like the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant types. But there are Christians out there who are more open-minded and into maybe into something like that. To get off to that real quick, I just wanted to read a verse about this topic from the Guhya Garbha Tantra. It's an old Indian text, about 1,000 years old, and it's kind of short, so I'll just read it here. It won't take probably just like 2-3 minutes. So the chapter on the direct perception of Vajra Sattva. Vajra is a very loaded term. If you've ever seen one, it's like it has 2 prongs on either side connected in the center, which is either emptiness or the Dharma element, which means like the ultimate nature of reality or singularity kind of thing. And the 2 prongs represent a lot of things, but to me it represents kind of the way that that our consciousness penetrates into the world and also is grounded within this like other side of things. So Vajra Sattva means the Vajra being. So like the essence of the ultimate reality. Okay, so from the Guhya Garbha Tantra, Samanta Bhadra and sentient beings are gathered indivisibly in immaculate existential space. And in order to demonstrate experientially this direct perception of Vajrasattva's face, deliberately Samanta Bhadra speaks. In direct perception of this mundane world, where things are never what they seem, where all is delusory enchantment, like hallucination, seeing all and everything as a continuity like the reflection of a moon in water, that is the Buddha's pristine awareness and a flash of undivided recognition that gives us a unitary experience of total presence, a finger snap of ungrounded limitless space, in timeless existential space, the here and now. That is Vajrasattva wielding the utterly inviolable Vajra. When vision and conduct are in sync with direct perception, we see his face with in the intrinsic purity of the Mandala. That boundless existential space is oneself in a union of utter purity, and all is spontaneously awakened. Whoever experiences this realization, he is seeing with the eye of pureness pure awareness, and he sees the immaculate matrix of being, and he is utterly inviolable, adamantine, imperturbable. Intrinsic existential space radiates clear light, which is the immaculate voice of the pristine sattva being. In that recognition is the direct perception of his face. With this spontaneity of perfect equipoise, the mind is filled with the magnificent self-sprung mandala of the 5 Buddhas, the 5 aspects of awareness. And in this unitary mind, free of subject and object, contemplating the Buddha's radiance as nothing at all without seeing or hearing, or any sensation, here is the clear light of pure awareness of intrinsic presence, and everything is realized as intrinsically empty in reality. There is no substance whatsoever. And by the way, when they say this, there's a certain way in which they mean this. Just as the victorious Buddha sat in the middle of the host of Mara, all gathered around the Bodhi tree, miserable in their state of malignancy, trying to cut the tree but quite unable, so is Vajrasattva when oneself is at one with Samadhi, which is a meditation. That is the direct perception of the Vajra face. The mind filled with Vajrasattva, Samadhi in nature, Samadhi saturated with radiance, everything becomes his Vajra nature, and since he is everything, nothing can harm him. With oneself and the sattva, with oneself and sattva, inseparable action accords with whatever appears, and the vision of oneself and sattva are a one, and that is the direct perception of the Vajra face. Now the immaculate mandala of reflected images conjoined by means of coarse and tangible, apprehending sensory distinctions, perfect insight is realized, and the non-dual connection of means and insight is sublime, skillful means. All and everything is the space of that manifold insight, all appearances and existence, everything whatsoever unmoving from the intrinsic here and now, are neither existent nor non-existent in their being, and non-being are indivisible. All is gathered into the space of existential sameness, and such a communion never coming into being. Everything in that way, inseparable from sameness, is inviolable. That is the abode of the sattva and the supreme order who realizes that their status in accord with the sattva. They see directly the Vajra face. All transforming illusion, the psychoorganism and the elements of perception, in one in the suchness of the ground of being and illusory appearances, are all reflected images, lack any substance in their very nature, yet that very absence of substance displays multiplicity. The 5 aspects are the psychoorganism are the 5 Buddha wisdoms. Sense organs and consciousness are the bodhisattvas. The objects and time are the goddesses of the 4 concepts of the self, and the 4 wrathful male guardians, the 4 extreme views of eternalism and nihilism, are the 4 wrathful female guardians. That awakened mind known as intrinsic presence, all as existential space. Samantabhadra, that is Vajrasattva. Whoever recognizes that, his Buddha mind in harmony with the sattva, he sees the Vajra face. I think that's pretty much the essence of how Tantra perceives what's going on kind of behind the scenes of
that's
existence.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that there would actually be, that comprehensive a written document about this phenomenon that people experience.
Yeah, right.
Bro, that's one chapter in one tantra. There's libraries full of stuff like this. It's beautiful. I love the literature. It just barely got saved from the Muslims too when they took it and brought it into Tibet. But yeah, I mean, to think that what's even more crazy is that to think that once there was a thriving culture of people who realized these kind of things, and they had their own civilizations.
I always that's such a shame to think about, because nowadays, even my best friends, I can't, not that I can't tell them this, like I do try to at least give them some tidbits and like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing, if you're interested in it. But it's like, you can't just talk to someone says, oh, you look like you're in a scam because I just read this incredible, I read all these interesting things, and they're like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, I didn't know that concept existed.
Yeah, that's
and that's if they actually are interested in hearing about it. A lot of the time you'll just get someone who looks at you and goes, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Again,
Have you seen? It's like, yeah, whatever. Have you seen the new Marvel movie? By the way,
it's very much
seen any Marvel movies in a very long time.
I'm so.
You're a very smart person.
Yeah, bro, Wakanda and shit. We was Kangs, all that. It's
There's only one character I like in Marvel movies, and I haven't even seen a movie with them, and that's the raccoon, because he's cool on Marvel vs. Capcom. That's like it.
Does he actually have a name, or is it just Rocket Raccoon?
I think that's his name. Like, I think that's actually his name.
Yeah,
he's one of the more fun characters on that franchise.
I don't know. Ever since that goddamn Ryan Johnson. I don't want to rant about it because it'll take up the entirety of this podcast. But
I'm happy about it, man. I'm happy that he crashed.
Right?
The franchise.
I'm actually kind of happy because now I'm under no obligation to go see any more movies. There are no strings on me now.
Yeah, I mean, they killed the nostalgia. They clipped the nostalgia string. Like, basically, that was just what was hanging on. That's all Star Wars ever had. That's why it's not a success overseas.
Yeah. I'm glad. I'm hoping that these next couple movies show a considerable downturn in their attendance. The only reason is because, one, Disney will lose money on it because I don't know if they've recouped all the cash they spent to actually buy the property. But I'm also hoping that because once they start losing money, Disney will drop it. I really hope that happens.
Well,
it hurts.
They just broke records with their We Was Kangs and shit. So I think that in the future.
Oh, of course they did. They were doing fundraisers to get the poor, to get the underprivileged children into a movie theater rather than teaching them how to not deal drugs and shit.
Yeah, that one was subsidized. So looking at its sales figures, you have to remember that there were schools that actually bought out ticket times, and the students went.
See, I always, when I heard that, I was like, how could any principal allow that to happen? But then I remember, when I went to grade school, I had a nun as a principal. So very different experience.
It doesn't. None of that shit really matters though, because the numbers that they get and all that stuff is all. It's partially funny because of the fact that it was subsidized, but even on the grander scheme, it doesn't matter anyway, because it's Disney, and it's Marvel, and none of this cheap shit matters. So, the fundamental thing is, at the end of the day, when you're finally looking at the final analysis, like Kai Murrow says, it's fucking cape shit.
Yeah. The Marvel, the whole superhero stuff is gonna run its course, I think, but for the time being, it's peak soy, and it's the soys love it. So.
I will admit, I did like Doctor Strange. It might have been because I went there while I was tripping like a fucking maniac. But I also, there's that one scene in it that I actually really liked was when the bald lady whose name I can't remember, she's like about to die. She's like, I always come to this moment, I can never get beyond it. He's like, you can't die, and she's like, it's not about you. And for some reason that always stuck with me. It's like, it's not about you. You're supposed to just do your best. I don't know, but other than that, I don't care about Marvel movies that much.
Yeah,
maybe because Disney's just been stamping on my head all the time.
That's a good thing though, because it's like a lot of these things were kept alive for too long. Like, I got tired of seeing the same franchises, even if they were doing well. I just got tired of it, and no movie. We've hit a point now where it's like we're hitting the peak of the entertainment mountain now. And superhero cape shit is just garbage, except for one.
That's what people want, and that's what we started talking about. And I was going to say that has to do with people existing in a kind of dreamlike state and not realizing they're in a dreamlike state, lacking self-awareness.
Actually,
and this ties into Bernays and Freud and Jung and stuff too. Is that the only reason why they like it is because one
other point. I didn't get to. I wanted to conclude that Disney is now in an insurmountable, or they're in a position now because of where they are on the peak of this, we'll say, entertainment mountain. Because at the tip of the mountain, because they think that they really got something with the Star Wars franchise, which was just said they cut. Right, they lost their stuff. But at the peak of the mountain is not Star Wars, it's Dune. And that comes out next year. So Disney doesn't have
Dune.
Hell yeah.
Dune.
God.
Dune.
No.
D-U-N-E.
Yeah, Dune.
Yeah,
yes, and it's one of the best directors ever doing it.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
it's gonna be
It's going to be perfect.
Yeah, I'm
You
really
say
looking
that.
forward. No, we'll
He
see. We'll
has
see.
a flawless record.
Wait, which director's even doing it?
Dennis Bellevue.
Bell-
He did
V in the way,
Blade Runner.
Yeah, he did the Blade Runner 2048 or whatever, and he did a damn good job with that. But anyway,
That was a good movie.
let me get back on.
But anyway, back on topic.
Let's back on topic. Okay. So I think that what we were originally saying is like, yeah, you try to talk to people about anything. I don't know. This is why that I like.
Actually, that's a good. I don't mean to keep going off on segues, but that's actually an interesting idea I just thought of. What's a good way to kind of slowly break somebody out of that trance? Because I know
what you do is just either you be around them and you influence them just by your presence, or they're not going to be influenced by you. Period. That's what I've learned from being a woke ass meditation guru for a long time. Is if you just be around people, and just from your demeanor and from the way you talk, if you really exemplify being woke or whatever, then there will be people who it will rub off on, and I've seen it happen like plenty of times, and it will be a good thing. You know, people around me, a lot of people who never really took interest in it, and in a lot of things, like see either the alt-right or in terms of like spirituality and stuff like that, have taken an interest in it. Not from me you can't push it on them. You can just, if they're interested, you can talk to them about it, but you might mention like, you know, something here or there, and just by being around them and really, you know, being about what you're saying. But anyway, yeah, please don't keep segueing. But so people, we initially said that people are in this like kind of dreamlike state, which is interesting to use the word dreams, because that's what Jung and Freud and all of that kind of marketing kind of appealed to, is things which are deep down and repressed and in the psyche and the subconscious that people want. That's why they market so many. That's why you see titties everywhere, is because you see something associated with titties and you're like, oh, I like this, so I like that. So with the action figure stuff, I don't know, or the action movie, the Marvel type tier shit, I mean, I guess it appeals kind of to like kind of repressed sense of masculinity and stuff like that people have nowadays, but I think people just generally like it because it's fucking trendy. I don't know how that. I mean, they're not.
I never understood like action figures or collecting shit.
I think a lot of that is pretentious. I see people that buy action figures, unless they are literally collecting them for the money value, like if they think it's going to increase in value, like scalpers aside, because I mean, scalpers have a more legitimate reason to purchase them than.
They're scamming the morons who would actually buy this lump of plastic.
Yeah, I'm all for the scalpers. I don't give a shit what people spend on that.
Nobody's forcing them to buy it.
It's just trendiness, and that's something we could talk about. What the hell is trendiness? What is it? People use it to fill the void in their lives. You know, they don't have anything because of this whole thing that I've been saying. Also, they lack a connection to the substantial inner reality. And
because they've been brought up that way.
I like how Thinking Ape talked about these sorts of people. It's a vacuous sort of thing. It's an empty
you're
person.
Constantly trying to stuff shit in
what
your
they're
holes.
doing is they're delaying their self-reflection period by allowing themselves to have a fake sort of enthusiasm. Like on this video, the person that you're looking at is like dead in the eyes. He's dead in the eyes, and he's making fake emotions based on his fake friends on his fucking Kate shit movies. Like this is peak soy, this video.
I don't know. I saw a picture of someone posted it on Twitter. They're like, so this is what's happening on government funded television in Sweden. And it's just some guy. It's like some guy giving the thumbs up while some black guy just fucks his like girlfriend, I presume.
Oh yeah, I saw
like,
that.
In the same, right? I'm just like, that's wow. How does he not just want to blow his brains out every time he looks in a mirror?
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does, but SSRIs have him delayed.
Yeah, and cuckolding is something I'll never understand. But again, what you said about Thinking Ape, I think, is important too. That people they have a void, and I've lived in the country for so long, and I think people in the country, and I even saw a quote somewhere where they did a test. There was an actual test that said that people who live around nature tend to have more, quote unquote, and they didn't use the term conservative, like it was a total bipartisan test, but it said that people who live in nature tend to have, or live around nature, tend to have more family values, you know, traditional, you know, these type of things which we associate with conservative values. But I've lived out in the country for a long time, and I became more conservative. But speaking back on the topic, I remember when I was a teenager, I went to high school about 15 miles south of Frisco, like in the suburbs of San Francisco, and it's kind of strange. And I think that it is. I think it's either on one side you have the autistic tier, like fanboys, like, you know, that like collect the fucking all the like Christian with his mountain, the fucking whatever that he has in his room, you know, his mountain of like fucking collectibles and cum jars and whatever the fuck that is, Legos and shit. I think on the one side you might have people that are like Christian out here in the country and they kind of live vicariously through their obsessions. But I remember being very much like kind of caught in the wave of trendiness in the Bay Area. And it's funny, when I went to visit my EGF in San Diego, when I was in the city, like after having been, you know, meditation woke, whoa my god tier like for a while, and going down there, like it felt strange. It was almost like I felt almost like the grid pattern of the city itself was trying to like get into my head. Like there is this like we were talking about the etheric side of things, like it's people's like collective kind of like at the risk of sounding too much like
I think I know what you mean. Yeah, sort of like it was just like the entire city felt like you were an alien in the city.
And it felt like the city was alive itself, like it was giving off like some kind of like signal to conform, you know. And it's strange because, like I said, when I was a teenager growing up in the Bay Area, that's what I felt like. I felt like my mind was replaced by this like signal. And I don't, maybe it either comes from just like being either, you could get on a bunch of different levels of why this happens. It could come from just social cues and pressure and wanting to fit in. Like you said, being a vacuous cunt and having to shove things in your hole to prevent you from to keep your mind busy. And to, you know, kind of rebel against, you know, we call it the monkey mind in Buddhism. Like it just kind of just goes and goes and goes because it doesn't want to, it doesn't understand its real nature. Or whether there's an actual, you know, at the risk of sounding too much like a hippie, there's an actual, like maybe like an electromagnetic vibe. You know, people talk about the Schumann resonance. Maybe there's an actual like field of some kind of subliminal frequency that people are giving off, which like
I think there
codes them. That's why big cities, they're all on the same page with all this gun control, the liberal type shit. It's almost like there's, or maybe it's like fucking shit. Maybe it's like harp or something like that on you if you want to go really out there. But I think that it's kind of a natural thing that when humans congregate in such areas, it's like some kind of psychic like field.
It's the groupthink effect. I mean, that's kind of well known, and also it's the feminizing effect. Because in the countryside, you see a lot more of gender sort of differences. You know, dudes will be out cutting shit and doing guy stuff, and shooting things. Like when I was,
because I mean, in the country, it's more you have to be self-sufficient, and then when you're self-sufficient, you don't have time for all the like nicety stuff. So it's like, oh, what have you been doing? I was out. I chopped down a shitload of trees. Where's my dinner?
Yeah, I mean, I remember being just like 10 years old, walking around in the forest with a gun, you know, hoping a black bear don't attack.
Dude, that's cool.
I kind of wish that I grew up in I kind of wish I grew up in the country and moved to the city rather than vice versa.
Like you grow up more afraid of animals than anything.
But see, that's a good thing. I have absolutely no fear of any wildlife, which is absolutely to my detriment, because one day I'm going to be, because I absolutely want to move out of this state to the country, or at least closer to the country. And one day there's going to be like a black bear or something sifting through my garbage. I'm going to walk up to him with a newspaper, like, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? And I won't realize that it could rip me in half.
I had a cotton something. Can't remember. It's a snake out in Virginia.
Oh, cottonmouth.
Yeah, and that shit was cheap.
Shut
like,
those are
the kinds of memories that I have as a kid. Like, it's always like fucked up and like, you know, falling in thorn bushes and snakes and like
Yeah, but it's
bears.
like childhood shenanigans. You didn't lose an arm or an eye or anything.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
fine.
totally cool. I'm not against it. I think that that's an experience most people should have. I think that that's the natural experience. And you know, none of the brainwashing worked on me in school. Like none of it. I've never been on their page. I've always been about survival first. I've always been about my rights first. And it just never worked. School didn't do anything. And I think people growing up in the countryside away from the hive mind.
Yeah, the psychic fucking
there wasn't like as much social reinforcement of it. I actually think it's a better thing if you grow up in the country and if you have to move to the city, you don't stay there permanently. Because then you can see how alien it is and you're like, listen, I know you guys live here all the time, but this is insane.
Hold on.
This is absolute madness.
It is. Hold on. The word that I just brought up, I think this could, this, damn, man. I swear to God, we get so deep down the rabbit hole on this shit sometimes. Okay. Have you guys ever heard the term egregor?
Egregor?
Egregor, yeah.
What's egregor?
Is it spelled similar to like egregious?
No, I don't think it has any bearing to any,
It doesn't.
I think it's just a word. Okay, so egregor. Egregor is an occult. It's EGREGOR. Sometimes also spelled with an E at the end. Egregor is an occult concept representing a thought form or collective group mind, an autonomous psychic entity made up and influencing the thoughts of a group of people. The symbiotic relationship between an egregor and its group has been compared to more recent non-occult concepts of the corporation as a legal entity or a meme. Isn't that a bitch right there? That's interesting. That's really interesting.
I kind of imagine that.
So that's like kind of like I kind of felt that there's this psychic egregor inside of big cities. And holy shit, maybe like, you know, these people who are on this occult tip, like the elites and stuff, maybe they're consciously, you know, fomenting it via the TV. You know, this is
I would not be surprised.
Well, we already know that you can induce certain feelings with certain waves. I mean, what's it called?
Yeah, someone posted it was like the link for a patent, and it was like for televisions, and it's like we can it's something like like sending a pulse or something through the TV that is behind the image you're looking at, so you don't consciously see it, but it still gets to you. And it's like, it puts you in like a super relaxed state. That's why when people are watching TV,
alpha, beta,
you know, someone can call to you and you can go like, okay, or whatever, but you didn't really hear them.
You hear a damn thing. History. The first author, this is interesting, the first author to adapt egregor in modern language seems to have been the French poet Victor Hugo in La Legende The Legend of the Ages, first series, 1859, where he uses the word egregor, first as an adjective, then a noun, while leaving the meaning obscure. The author seems to have needed a word rhyming with the words ending in the sound or. It would not only be the only example of word creation by Victor Hugo. However, the word in the normal form that the Greek word though I don't know Greek, so I don't know what the fuck that is. Watcher would. Let me read that again. However, the word is the normal form of the Greek word. I don't know Greek, but it starts with an E, I think, which means watcher. Would take in French. This was the term used in the Book of Enoch for great angel-like spirits. Eliphas Levi in La Grande Arcane, the Great Mystery, identifies egregors. By the way, Eliphas Levi is someone who's very much studied by people like Freemasons. He's very famous in the early occult movement in the early 1900s.
We just can't get away from Enoch.
Yeah, you just can't. No, identifies egregors with the tradition concerning the Watchers, the fathers of the Nephilim, describing them as terrible beings that crush us without pity because they are unaware of our existence.
Yeah, you know, we weren't even supposed to talk about this today.
And here we go. It pops back up again. The term is used in the Book of Enoch for great angel-like spirits.
Fucking John D. Back to the cucks.
Did we just stumble onto something? I mean, is there like some kind of real like
well, it could be that
we have the Gordon. Well, real quick, we have the Golden Dawn again. The concept of an egregor as a group thought form was developed in the works of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. which, by the way, was influenced in turn Crowley and the Rosicrucians, which the Rosicrucians are like the fucking Illuminati, like par excellence from back in the day, and is referenced by writers such as Valentin Tauberg, notably in his anonymously penned book Meditations on the Tarot. And a well-known concept, the egregor, is the GOTOS of the Fraternitas Saturni. So, like, it seems like the occult groups that, as we well know, are very much behind a lot of the think tanks, and they just seem to pop up everywhere you look. The big families. I think that's, you look at something like that movie Eyes Wide Shut. You can't. The more that you research, you see how that people very high up are at the very least aware of occultism, and I wouldn't even say that. I think at the very least practice some kind of occultist.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it right now. So somebody was posting information about, like how like the universe is all built and everything. It's like all on harmonic frequencies and all that stuff. And he was talking about, where is it? He was talking about like the pyramids or something, and he was saying what the Rothschild Manor or something like that is built on like the exact same coordinates.
Oh, I've seen some weird stuff like that. You guys seen, remember the Jeffrey Epstein saga, the Pedo Wood saga from like 2015? Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember his island?
I know who Epstein is.
Do you guys remember seeing the picture of his island with that weird like Arabic style like temple like that he has?
Yeah, that thing actually has some lower levels to it.
No doubt.
Of course it does.
Yeah,
there's a whole underground part to that.
That's where they fucking sacrifice kids to Moloch. One more
I was
really.
about to say, you can't just sacrifice kids in the open.
Yeah, man. No, someone's gonna watch you. They'll find your pizza related handkerchiefs and all that. So there's one more really interesting tidbit about on this egregor wiki. Paranormal enthusiast Fiona Broom created the concept called the Mandela effect, a situation where a number of people have memories that are different from available evidence. This could be evidence for the collective group mind supported by the concept of the egregor. So, hey, this is this like when you tune into yourself in meditation, and you just like I said, when I flew out to San Diego, I just got this like feeling, man. Like it almost felt like the grid lines in the buildings were breathing, and they're giving off this kind of like this psychic field,
so they're free of it when you're out there. See, I hate the cities. Yeah. Like I very rarely.
You feel it, don't you feel it when you go into a city? Like you just feel
it's
it.
Horrible,
it's not even anything I think that's necessarily you could describe as tangible. It's just a feeling, of when you're in a big city. It's like it consumes you. It takes you over.
Yeah, it's like everyone around you is dying. Like they have this soulless sort of presence to them.
They're NPCs, yeah.
I go to the city maybe like once every 2 years or something like that. So
it's funny how the Matrix actually portrayed that with the people, saying that they're like between alive and dead. They're kind of the
exactly.
enemy, and they're awake. The Matrix was just like spot on with that with cities. Mm-hmm. And when you're outside of the city, though, everything's different. It's like people have an identity, and your reason, your motives, and all this stuff matters. But with respect to the sort of whatever it ends up being, whether it is in fact a binaural beat coming out of the television, or
possible,
if somehow the grid is doing it also, whatever that is, I think that one of the reasons DMT is a Schedule I substance is because that whole thing is like, it becomes tangible on a DMT experience. People have reported that you can actually take that whole thing, whatever your brainwashing is, whatever the trance is, let's say you come from a banana republic and El Presidente, you worshipped him, whatever the thing is, it's like that becomes on the side. And during your ego death, you also experience the death of your brainwashing, because you don't even remember your name. So you're not brainwashed, you're just like a larva. Then like when you're coming back together, you can see that part of your life. like it's on the awakening part. I don't mean awake as in red pill. I mean awake as in like recompartmentalizing of your synapses. That is when people see for the first time the tangible vision of their brainwashing, whatever the brainwashing was, whether it was a drug abuse, whether it was a relationship, puppet government, or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So we got Flowers joining us, Beavis Sinatra. Man, you missed a real interesting little tangent that we just had. We were talking about, like, I was saying that, like we were talking about how people were just asleep, and what the fuck is it that makes them like in this hive mind in cities and shit. And I just the word egregor popped into my head, and then I could, because like when I went to go visit my EGF like in San Diego, like I just felt like psychically attacked or something. And so I looked at the word egregor. I don't know why that came into my mind. And it's an occult concept representing a thought form or collective group mind, an autonomous psychic entity made up and influencing the thoughts or a group of people. The symbiotic relationship between an egregor and its group has been paired more recent non-occult concept of the corporation and the meme. The term egregor comes from the term watcher, which was used in the Book of Enoch for great angel-like spirits. What do you think? Like, what do you think about that? Do you feel it when you go into big cities?
I definitely do. I have a hard time trying to focus when I'm in the larger city parts of where I live. I can say where I live. I live in Virginia, so there's not really a whole lot of like huge like mega cities, but whenever I end up going into somewhere like Norfolk or like Richmond, I feel almost like there's a dull buzz in my ear, kind of like it numbs your mind. I don't know what it is, but it must be us like tuning into our like subconscious hive mind or something.
That's exactly what egregor is.
I had good times there. I grew up there. You know, I think that the way to get out of that in Virginia is you got to get butt naked, and then you just got to go live with the turkeys for a while. It's like those things where wolves raise the kid. You got to let the turkeys raise you.
Word, yeah, I'm down.
He's out in the country right now.
Stare up in the rain and like drink the rain like they do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't drink the rain here in Virginia. It's probably acid.
This whole line of thought. This is like some real shit. You know, this really needs to be talked about. I mean, we just linked together the psychic.
It's always there, man. Like, are you even surprised anymore? Like, it's almost like, you know, when the Trump effect happens.
Yeah, that's an egregor also.
Yeah, exactly. You know, another thing I want to mention about these beta waves, you could say it's a giant incantation of some kind, the city, whatever people want to call them. And there is that, of course. Those Masonic buildings are always in patterns. But that aside, even, I think that diet plays a big role on these things, because people forget that their body is in fact a biome. And they're killing their gut flora with a lot of this government-subsidized food. You know, your McDonald's.
Yeah. No, I think it is a good thing that people are kind of awakening to that kind of, you know, the health food and stuff. It's becoming
well, yeah. You know, everyone I've seen that has, provided they haven't, you know, just fucked it up and didn't do it right. People that have gotten off of the SAD diet and gone on to something else, something that is nutrient dense, whether it is vegan, whether it is ketogenic, whatever it is that gets away from the nutrient non-dense foods, they always see a benefit. And I think that is a big part of it. I think a part of the trance has to do with a lack of nourishment. And I definitely think that between, let's say, the three, people that end up going toward the more primal or paleo spectrum probably end up with the biggest benefits regarding their brain, you know, getting out of this trance.
It makes sense.
Because you're not able to be manipulated so easy because you don't have the highs and the lows. People forget that the effect of insulin in their body can really enhance the trance effects, because you'll always be getting sleepy. People go get their burger on the way home. They're passing out from the insulin while watching CNN.
And they've been sucking down the fluoride in the tap water and stuff, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, you know, I think
this is iodine.
This is a combination of things that's going on.
I forgot to take my iodine today.
This is a combination of things that's going on, especially in the major cities, where they're coming at us from
all angles.
All angles, yeah, literally, just like Alex Jones like always rants about. They literally are coming at us from all angles. They're using occultism to create this if, for lack of a better word, an egregor to control people, and that, you know, March for Our Lives thing. I don't want to get into it right away, but just putting it out there, that's a big example of what we're talking about. And it's funny because I wanted to talk about the way in which the ethereal world and the material world interact, and now and how we could like kind of segue between that and politics. And look, we did it again, where just like from just discussing it, we developed a perfect segue into discussing what we wanted to talk about today, which is like the Civil War 2.0, March for Our Lives, stuff like this, and how they've been manipulating us. So you have the big cities rebelling.
That's another thing. The reception because of the goblin tearing the Constitution and what's his fuck swearing and shit. Like these are things that normies don't like. Because I think one mistake that people that try to program societies make, especially with the fluoride and with the debilitating effects, at that same point, these people don't like negativity, and people that are center or right of center don't like seeing, you know, goblins tearing up the Constitution. That scares them, and they're already sheep, man, so they're easy to scare.
Yeah, no doubt, right. And they don't like seeing La Goblina fucking tearing up the Constitution. That's who the fuck thought that was a good idea? That's like
I can almost guarantee that she just snuck that up on stage with her. She's like, this is going to be a real powerful statement. Like, it's an old document, it's antiquated. I'm going to show everyone. And she did it, and as soon as she walked off stage, everyone was staring at her like, what?
No, it wasn't on stage. It's a photo shoot.
It wasn't on stage. It was on.
Oh, okay.
Did you see the picture?
I didn't even see it, but I imagine
it was in general.
It was a photo shoot?
I just posted
then
it
everyone,
in general.
that's just a moron.
Dude,
it was paid for.
Look at it in general. I just posted it. Like, what?
Wow.
What
a cunt.
What?
No,
that's great.
Bags under her eyes, too. Jesus, she looks terrible.
That's great author
If she was
stories.
in Outer Heaven, I'd give her an Argyle role. She did more for us than anything the NRA's done all week. Her tearing the Constitution like saved us ad money. Now we just put her on the ads.
Little Goblina tearing the Constitution. This is the future that we chose. But hey, before we get too much into that, because I do want to really go off on that, I want to just real quick on give people some things that they can do to kind of to get woke. All right, and let me to start off that discussion, let me just read a really quick verse from the all-knowing, omniscient master Nagarjuna, who revealed the truth of the Buddha's teachings. There is something which, as long as left unknown, results in life's three planes of vicious circle. Beyond all doubt, it dwells in every being. To the Dharma Dhatu, I devoutly bow. Dharma Dhatu, Dharma can mean religion, it can mean law, but here it's being used as kind of the word for phenomena. I interpret Dharma Dhatu, Dhatu means element, so it's the Dharma element inside of everyone. Some people call it their soul. If you want to call it a soul, it's just to the soul. Fine. But it's an Eastern interpretation of it. It's a Buddhist interpretation of it. So there is something which, as long as left unknown, results in life's three planes of vicious circle. Three planes of vicious circle, it refers to the trilogism, which is the triple world. It's an Eastern concept. Beyond all doubt, it dwells in every being. To the Dharma Dhatu, I devoutly bow. When that which forms the cause for all samsara, and samsara is what we call the world, which means the world of continuous death and rebirth. It's called samsara. It's like I was saying earlier, it's kind of like, people are trapped in a dream, and then when they die, we say that they kind of go through this bardo, or this kind of intermediary phase, which is like a dream, and then they just kind of like wander back in, sheepishly back into a different, based on their karma, based on how they acted in their life, determined like when you have a dream, how you act in your life kind of determines how you act in a dream. Like you have sex, you might get into a fight in your dreams, you might have desire for exploring. There's things that you do in your dreams, or especially if you become lucid. If you become lucid in a dream, that's kind of like what happens when you die. It's like a lucid dream. And sometimes when you become lucid, we said that there's two forms of lucid dreaming. And that's when you're truly awake and you're doing you're lucid dreaming with the Dharma mind, or you're lucid dreaming with an enlightened awareness, or you're lucid dreaming and just repeating the motions of your kind of base instincts and such. So when you might be lucid dreaming and be like, yeah, I'm lucid now. I'm about to fucking I'm gonna summon me like a thought and fucking have sex with her. And trust me, I've done this plenty of times, and I'm sure that other people have. But so like how we act in a lucid dream is determining, like it represents the karma which carries on in this kind of higher or underworld like level. So when we say that when a person dies and is reborn, the karma, the actions which they familiarize themselves, which they occupy with themselves in their life, will kind of carry over into the dream state. So if a person was a violent killer, say you have like a Saddam Hussein, and I'm not shilling for neocons, he was definitely a fucking violent, even think is a better example, an Uday Hussein or someone like this, who's just a total psychopath. If someone like an Uday Hussein, when they die, they've been a violent nutcase, they'll continue to try to interact with their dream-like intermediary state in a violent way, and that will push them into a rebirth as like a jealous god, which we call an asura, or maybe into a lesser rebirth. Whereas if you've been a good person in your life, generally, especially if you've practiced any kind of spiritual religious tradition, we say that you'll be at least reincarnated as a human being. But anyway, so back to the quote. There is something which, as long as left unknown, results in life's three planes of vicious circle. Beyond all doubt, it dwells on all in every being. To the Dharma Dhatu I devoutly bow. When that which forms the cause for all of samsara is purified along the stages of the path, this purity itself is nirvana. Precisely this, the Dharmakaya too. Pretty much the way that I described earlier, the immaculate space of Vajrasattva is the Dharmakaya. And next verse, which is like one of my favorite verses of Nagarjuna. As butter, though inherent in milk, is mixed with it, and hence does not appear, so the Dharma Dhatu is not seen, as long as it is mixed together with the afflictions. And just as the inherent butter essence, when the milk is purified, is no more disguised, when the afflictions have completely purified, the Dharma Dhatu will be without stain at all. As a butter lamp that burns inside a vase would not even be slightly visible as long as left inside of the afflictions vase, the Dharma Dhatu is not visible. If one perforates the surface of the vase, whatever holes are made in whichever directions, through those and in precisely those directions, light will shine as its nature is to. At the moment when the Vajra-like samadhi is able to obliterate the vase, which means like the indestructible level of super concentration. At the moment when the Vajra-like samadhi is able to obliterate the vase, at that very moment, the light burning inside will shine throughout all the reaches of space. The Dharma Dhatu is never born, nor will it ever cease. At all times, it is free of afflictions at the beginning, middle, and end, free from stain. So what it's saying here is basically that human beings were walking around inverted. We're like inside out. We're like the milk which hasn't been churned into the butter, but the milk itself and the butter are of the same substance. So the same thing which is causing us to be alive, the spark of our life, which causes us to manifest in a way which is dull. And we all know that there's something, everybody on this earth feels that there's something wrong with the world, and that things, suffering and pain and attachment and to what we like, and losing what we don't like, all of these things, we know that it's not supposed to be like this. We just inherently know that, and that itself also is the Dharma Dhatu. But when through practicing the path, there is a pathway to transforming, like in an alchemical way, everything that makes you. You already have everything there to turn into, a Buddha, for example. So just before we give people some like recommendations, like I think a lot more about like the healthy kind of food stuff that people can.
Well, I think that in general, the first off thing is nutrient density. Anything that empowers the brain is stuff that you're going to see governments try to push away from. You know, anything that, it's like Maslow's hierarchy. It's like there's a Maslow's hierarchy in your body. You know, you go on sort of the reptile auto-guidance thing if you're not getting enough nutrients to really improve your faculties. And I think that's one of the reasons why when you're going to get a blood test, they don't like to differentiate the LDLs. They try to tell you fats are bad, yet all your hormones come from fats. They try to tell you that it's just straight up bad if it's not HDL, if it's LDL. They don't quantify LDL, and they don't explain where the bad sources of these small particles come from. And it fails not. It always comes from things like soy or corn oil, and it comes when it's heated. There's very specific sources for these things.
Someone in just sorry to interrupt you, but someone in our text who says she's a nutritionist mentioned the Codex Alimentarius. Do you remember that meme from like 5 or 6 years ago?
No, I never heard of it.
No,
you guys never heard of that? Like there were people flipping out that the UN was going to come in and like kind of regulate what foods were oh God, it's been a while since I saw the video, but there was there was a woman who was that was saying that the UN basically was trying to regulate which foods were available. Maybe the person in our the WHO.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
The WHO was trying to do it.
They've written a lot of documents like that. A lot of that is on the never going to happen borderline.
Yeah. They're delusionary. They're delusionary.
I give no credence to the UN after they had.
I know they said it was the World Health Organization, but I mean it's the same. Oh yeah, Anita fucking. Oh God, I remember that. But no, she said it was. She said it was the World Health Org. We were talking about Codex Alimentarius. She said it was.
Yeah, I haven't heard it.
It's an old meme. It was going around in like the conspiracy circles, like maybe even like seven years ago or so. It was pretty old. But
I remember something about it.
Yeah, they were saying that they were trying to like basically fuck us in terms of nutrition, but I
mean they've always been trying to do that. That's why there's the peasant diet and why there's the royalty diet. You know, the peasants eat basically a grain-based diet, and the royalty have lots of fats, lots of very obscure foods too. One of the things I think that's very easy for people to do is simply get their body what it needs in order to produce its own stronger mental faculties. And the first step, of course, is stop eating shit like McDonald's. You know, even when I did a vegan experiment, I still never touched soy, never touched corn. You know, if you see corn or soy, don't touch it. Like, and here's something I noticed.
Like corn.
I noticed that when I was doing the vegan experiment, and never for animals, you know, Life NRA member, I'm all for hunting.
Yeah, kill animals.
No, I mean, I understand wanting to experiment just to see what different like diets will affect how you feel.
I offered to help people hunt, and I would just give them my animals, but for the sake of the experiment, I noticed no real impairment of my mental faculties, but I also did not touch any of those fats, and the only fats that I was really getting were from sources like coconut oil, which of course is also used on the ketogenic diet, which I do more than anything. But one thing I saw was the other vegans, and they were all, you know, man tits and passive and acting high even though they weren't. And it's just, you see the difference. And that's the same thing you see with normies on the standard American diet. That's what you see with the people that are on like McDonald's diets and shit like that.
I can't eat McDonald's anymore. I didn't eat.
So do we have any more?
Did you get cut off? He was just talking and then he stopped.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I sat on the mute button for my headset. No, I can't eat McDonald's anymore. I never ate it a lot, and then in high school for maybe like maybe a few months or something, I would fairly often, because my friends were like, dude, you never had a Big Mac? And I was like, these are actually pretty good. And then I was like, you know, it's McDonald's. It's probably not very healthy.
The problem, I think, is a lot of people are poor also. So
it's so much cheaper just to grow your own food or something, or just go to a different supermarket.
Money doesn't mean anything when it comes to this stuff. Like I was getting by at the peak expense of my experimental diets. I was at about 30 a week.
I like meat.
But at average, we're talking less than 50 a month. for me getting all my nutrients. But the thing is,
overall, it's more expensive to like actually go out every night and eat fast food.
Yeah, and not to mention, people don't think in terms of like their body. They're thinking in terms of entertainment food. Like they're like, oh, I have to have this flavor on this thing. They're not thinking in terms of their gut flora. Like, for example, if you want to have good gut flora, make sure you're eating good bacteria, whether that's going to come from raw meat or fermented oats. You know, a lot of people make those. People make fermented meat. People make fermented drinks like kombucha and all this stuff. Get your probiotics somehow.
Kombucha is so good, and it's so good for you.
Yeah, I like to get it from yogurts and stuff like that because I love yogurt. Okay, so we've had IXIX speak on the nutritional aspect, which surely if you're going to do any type of self-realization in terms of the meditational or enlightened aspect, you have to take care of your body. Because, like I said, the whole, and I'm sorry, man, it's too bad. The flowers, we just had the greatest like little diatribe on esoterics, and you missed.
Yeah, I was stuck in my bug man job.
It's all right. Give Flowers like a little bit of time to get in on this, because I know he's a psychonaut also. You're the skandhas, as we call them, which are form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, which the 5 skandhas, they form our body. They're transformed into like Nagarjuna. That's the milk which transforms into the butter of the what we call the 5 Buddha families, or the 5 Buddha wisdoms, or the Shambhogakaya, which is made of the 5 clear lights. So it transforms into the luminosity, which takes you into a higher realm of experience, even in this life. It kind of makes you see that death and birth are illusory in themselves, and that you just transcend everything through them. To give my diatribe, I'm going to read a little bit from a really good book called The Flight of the Garuda by Shabkar Lama, early 19th century Lama. This song 8 is called The Method of Attaining Conviction. And then I want Flowers to commentate a little bit on what I'm reading here, because he is a fellow disciple of the Buddha. Not affirmed yet. You need to go do that. Go take you take your refuge ceremony. So, Emaho. Usually they begin this with that, which means like, oh, wow, what a realization. Once again, beloved sons and daughters, listen with devotion. Mind in its insubstantiality is like the sky. Is this true or false, my children? Confirm it by relaxing completely and looking directly at the mind, gazing with your entire mind, free of all tension. The emptiness of the mind is not just a blank nothingness, for without doubt, it is the primal awareness of intrinsic awareness radiant from the first. Self-existent, natural radiance is like sunlight. Indeed, is this true? To confirm it, relax completely, directly at the nature of your own mind, looking directly at the nature of your own mind. There is no doubt that it is impossible to objectify or grasp thought or the movement of memory. This capricious, changeable movement is like the cosmic wind. It is indeed so. To confirm, relax completely, looking directly at the nature of your own mind. Without a doubt, all appearances whatsoever are our own manifestation. All phenomena whatsoever manifest is like a reflection in the mirror. Is this indeed so? To confirm it, relax completely, looking directly at the nature of your own mind. No experience is possible anywhere but in the mind, so there is nothing to see other than that seen at the moment of vision. No experience is possible but in the mind, so there is nothing to meditate upon other than mind. No experience is possible, so there is nothing to do other than what is to be done in the mind. No experience is possible but in the mind, so there is no samaya to be sustained outside of the mind, which means like a bond with your tantric guru. No experience is possible anywhere but in the mind, so there is no goal to be reached that is not in the mind. Look, and look again. Look at your own mind. Project your attention into external fields of space, and attentively watching the nature of your mind, see if it moves. When you are convinced by observation that the mind does not move, retract your attention and concentrate upon the mind within, and look carefully for the projector of diffused thought, When you have decided that there is no entity responsible for thought patterns, look carefully for the color and shape of mind. When you arrive at emptiness that has no color or shape, look for a center or circumference. Certain that the middle and margin are the same, search for an inside and an outside. Finding no distinction between inside and outside, you arrive at awareness, which is as vast as the sky. By virtue of its all-penetrating freedom, this awareness that has no center or circumference, no inside or outside, is innocent of all partiality and knows no blocks or barriers. This all-penetrating intrinsic awareness is the vast expanse of space. All experience of samsara and nirvana arises in it like rainbows in the sky. In all of its diverse manifestation, it is but a play of mind. You need only look out from the motionless space of intrinsic awareness at all experience, illusory like the reflection of the moon in water, to know the impossibility of dividing appearances from emptiness. So, I recommend for people to want to unhinge themselves from the matrix to take a look at some what the ancient type traditions like have, the wisdom that they have to give us, and to practice meditation. And by the way, just go on my YouTube channel for that, Shaktipat Seer 2, and you can get kind of an introduction into kind of any of this stuff. Is there anything we first talked about flowers? We talked about the relationship between the kind of etheric world and this one. Before we finish up on the wrap up the topic of esoterics, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think what you just read there really sums up not only just Buddhism, but in a way it sums up all of spirituality, because at the end of the day, it's all about yourself, not in a selfish way like we're thinking of, but in a way that you are your own key to your own lock. You need to sit down and do the meditation. Nobody can do the meditation for you. Nobody can pray for you to reach the awareness of the universe. Nobody can do that for you, and that's how Buddhism is almost unique in a way. People don't pray for you to find awareness. They try to help you find it yourself. And I think a big part of spirituality as a whole is at the core of Buddhism, and that is mindfulness. What you just read referenced, looking at the core of your mind and really examining what you're doing, being aware of your surroundings. Anybody can do something nice for somebody, but it's the intention that you're doing something nice for that matters. You can do something nice for somebody and just do it because, oh, I'm doing this nice thing because I want to achieve nirvana. You can't get to nirvana by wanting to do something good for yourself, by doing something good for somebody else.
The desire in itself is self-defeating in terms of the process.
You gain no positive karma by acting in a way that is selfish. You only gain positive karma in a way that is selfless. Sorry. I think it's a difficult concept for some people to get, and it takes a good while for people to really realize that they aren't the most important person in the universe. But on the same thing, you kind of are the most important person, at least for yourself, because only you can reach nirvana for yourself. Just like the butter needs to be the milk needs to be there to be turned into butter. The butter can't pray for the milk to become butter.
And something that you said there is important in terms of, especially in Buddhism, how we talk about that people that try to, in Christianity, like even in Christianity though, like when you're doing good things, you're not supposed to like say, oh yeah, I'm out here doing. You mean like Mother Teresa? Like I don't know if anybody has any political loaded things to say about
Mother Teresa.
But somebody like Saint Francis of Assisi, somebody that just goes out and they do good without any mind for it. And in Buddhism, we call this the spontaneous wisdom of spontaneous all-accomplishing wisdom. It's one of the 5 Buddha families, represented by the green Buddha Amoghasiddhi, And his function is the spontaneous, all-accomplishing Muslim. So he just it's like when your mind attains like the freedom from conceptual thought that you attain through Mahayana philosophy and meditation. You just spontaneously act in a certain way. So that also is important because the two wings of the Garuda eagle that we talk about enlightenment. They're wisdom and compassion, and those are the two kind of factors. So you have like the Buddha's right hand when he reached enlightenment was touching the ground when he did the Bhumisparsha Mudra, where he touched the ground and attained enlightenment, and his left hand was cupped at his belly in meditation. So it's like his right hand was action, was how he manifests, and his left hand was like an inward. It's like a polar kind of expression of how that this works. That inwardly you manifest the clarity of the realization of all the doctrines and such, and then outwardly you express them. And when you express them, you do it spontaneously, like the Buddha had done. And when you do it spontaneously, you realize that your ultimate nature is compassionate action. So I think that's plenty to give people some advice on where they can start if they're interested in look who's here, and if they're interested in unplugging the plug from their AI fucking matrix brain and waking up to the real world and dealing with it.
Right, and you don't have to be a Buddhist to realize the secrets of the universe.
No, of course
it's
not.
not required. It's helpful, but you don't need it.
No, I mean I studied everything before I decided that the Mahayana Dharma had it all, and that's what I was looking for. But anybody want to finish up on anything that we've been talking about before we switch up and start railing against the liberals on this march that they had today?
No, I'm good. I think it was pretty concise.
No, I think it was great. It was awesome, and it's in our someone in our chat here, Asen. She said that she thinks that it's great to hear people who are educated on the Dharma, but have recognized the patterns in terms of real life.
Guy.
As a guy, I don't know why. Why did I think that you were a female?
Dude.
I have no idea why I thought you. Because it says Rachel Attardi. It says your name's Rachel on YouTube. So I don't know. Maybe you're LARPing as a female. Huh? Oh, am I maybe? Oh, that must be a different person then.
Probably.
I guess it's not. I guess it's not.
Sen is a very southern.
Kind of, my bad, dude. I thought you were this person.
Cool.
I thought you were this person that I'm talking to in the chat here, Rachel. Anyway, yeah, she said that it's great to hear people who are educated on Dharma. Like I said, Dharma means these kind of discussions about these kind of things, and recognize the pattern in real life terms. I don't see it happening anywhere else, and we gotta make sure we keep it going and do some research. And if we could get a bigger audience, that'd be awesome. But anyway, so March for Our Lives. So quick rundown today: about 800,000 supposedly cucks marched in Washington to demand that something. I don't know what the fuck they want. They want people to stop shooting schools. They want to take. I mean, they think that they can take the guns, I guess. They brought up Martin Luther King Jr.'s granddaughter, and she said that I have a dream today that enough is enough. Like, oh, what a snarky fucking lib shit type thing to say.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and she said
way to prove you have no creativity by stealing something a man did.
Yeah, and she said I dreamed
that mainstream news has really grappled onto this, because I was on break at my job tonight, and NBC News had Martin Luther King footage flashing up and all this and that.
Oh yeah,
they were showing the speeches, all that shit, and I'm just sitting there on my break thinking like, wow, Martin Luther King was rallying against the government to just give them their full rights and not stomp on them.
Just one word. Yeah, sorry, man. Yeah, the granddaughter stomping on them.
Yeah, here we have his granddaughter basically just pissing on the ashes.
One more example why Malcolm X was infinitely superior to Martin Luther King, by the way.
Exactly. She's calling. I guarantee you that she's one of those who will say that it's police brutality and that he's a good boy, he didn't do nothing, and the government's evil, Donald Trump is evil, and so on and so forth. But take our guns, please.
Yeah, I never understood that.
Let me segue real quick into this because I just want to give a quick rundown for people who might not know what's going on. So, the Parkland celebrities, for some reason which I do not understand, there has been no other time in any other school shooting where they or whoever the deep state fucks, whatever the fuck that they're planning, have decided to roll out people who had a horrific thing happen to them, as having their schoolmates shot up, decided to roll them out in a disgusting way to be used as political prostitutes by them. I'm sure they're assuring them, look, you're doing a great thing for the country. No, you're being pimped out by the deep state. And it's disgusting. They're rolling the Emma, the El La Gablina, and they got the David fucking I swear to God I don't work for CNN hog.
The grown ass.
You rolled them both out.
21 Jump Street.
Yeah.
Whole 21 Jump Street.
They rolled them out, had them do speeches, and they were so rehearsed, and I can understand the reasoning of these kids. Are like on one side they're getting off from all the fame and attention, of course, and they're like, oh yeah, so they're getting this, and then their handlers are like giving them speeches to give or instructing them in what they should be saying. David Hogg seems so try-hard that I don't even believe that he's like at all like not affiliated with
skin crawl.
Yeah, I don't believe that he
looks like a skinwalker.
Yeah, he's
what is it? Someone took a picture of him, one of the ones where he's just staring straight at the camera, and they're like, do you like Huey Lewis in the news? And I was like, that's exactly what he reminds me of.
Yeah, okay, so just ending my quick rundown so we can all chime in real quick, and also one at a time. So they did a march where supposedly 800,000 people marched on Washington because, again, we want to talk about psychic egregors. These people who live in big cities have been so thoroughly brainwashed to think that, we don't need high-capacity magazines, or, we don't need machine guns. We don't need... Motherfucker, the reason why the Second Amendment exists is to hunt feds, not to hunt deer. That's why it exists. It exists to hunt feds, not deer. Nah, we don't.
You don't need a whole lot of shit. Like, my iPhone isn't killing anybody. No, but with the proper know-how, you can steal, thousands of dollars. Identity theft has gone up astronomically within the past,
to be fair, the
half a decade.
Samsung S7 Edge, I believe it was exploding, so you could use it to kill people.
Yeah, there you go. You have a Samsung grenade.
Yeah, but anyway, let me finish my point real quick here, and then we can all weigh in. So I see this as like, it's just the whole thing of them turning these kids into celebrities is absolutely bizarre. I agree with IXI saying that they're doing our job for us. Like everything that they do is just like we're in opposite dimension. We're in the Berenstain dimension. So the more that they keep pushing with their agenda, they're just going to get pushed back. And so what I want to ask you guys, first you go ahead and react for what you think about the March for Our Lives rally. And then secondly, I want to segue into I don't think that the people in charge ever think it's actually feasible to get the guns. So are they just trying to ignite a new civil war? What's going on?
It's not a civil war exactly. They're trying to ignite an Arab Spring because it's the same people that did Arab Springs doing this. That's all it is. And there's nothing more than that. It's just the Arab Springs.
But the Arab Springs all turned into civil wars.
Not necessarily. They turned into coups, but not always civil wars.
Libya. You think they're actually trying to get a coup?
I kind of think that they really believe they can. Not in our generation, but I think that they believe that if they continue on with this course of action, like continually putting stupid, easily led children up on stage and going, "Oh, I want my freedom taken away," but saying it in a nice way so people who don't understand subtext are like, "Yeah, what he said." I think they genuinely think they can actually do what they can do it. They're like, well, we can't do it with these people because they're too, they hang on too much. But if we do it slowly, a generation at a time, we'll do it.
Right. I disagree with
I think is working.
I don't agree with that. I don't think that they're willing to. I think that they got pissed off by Trump, and they're just blowing their load. They got pissed off.
They're trying to accelerate their plans.
Yeah, they're trying to accelerate. I think that's what they're trying to do.
Because what is it? Somebody was talking about it after, like a little while after Trump got elected. They're like, or maybe a while after, they were talking about some secret internet program or something that Obama had instituted, and it was designed to it was some sort of like Ministry of Truth or something like that, and it's like they can get rid of any internet site they want, and it was supposed to expire at the end of Hillary's term, and they're like, they actually thought she was going to win.
Of course.
Right. I don't think that they honestly think that they can take all the guns away, because they did try in the 90s with the quote-unquote assault weapons ban, and at the end of it, nothing really changed, because I don't know if y'all know this, but we kind of border South America, which is just a gigantic cartel at this point. There's places like Chile that are pretty nice, and the northern part of Mexico is pretty nice, but you get into like Salvador and get your head cut off. Colombia, you get your head cut off with cocaine.
Venezuela,
rinse repeat for every other shithole. You can try to ban weapons all you want within the northeastern hemisphere, but it's just not gonna work, because smuggling is a concept that's been around for basically ever. Sure, you're not gonna get nearly as many like quote unquote school shootings that could or could not be false. I don't really subscribe to a lot of them, but I think that in
I agree
recent
with that
years,
totally. I think there's way too many of them.
It's not like Europe where there isn't a gun culture. There's not a gun, because they got rid of guns way before even like the era of the television. It wasn't a large part of their daily lives.
Well, the other difference is in Europe, there isn't that spirit of like, fuck you.
Yeah, our country was
here, it's not uncommon to talk to almost any adult. It's like, so do you like the government? They're like, no, fuck them. Like, you go over there, it's like, yes, of course, they're great. I love them.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not just the hippie boomers that say that. I think that the spirit is also deeper in that we're a revolutionary country, and that's why
we're the country based upon fury, fire, and you try to come take it. All right, you're gonna get it, but one bullet at a time.
Yeah.
Concord, come on, try it again, bitch.
So Lagoblina is out here tearing up the Constitution. What's the end game? You say that maybe it's a slow push for gun control. I say that's absolutely impossible. You say maybe it's an Arab Spring that's leading to like a coup.
There's another thing that's going on during the thing. It's also a voter drive, because they had Democrat registration boosts there. Like that's another thing it is. It's a massive voting drive trying to get people fresh out of high school to vote in the midterms.
Trying to add their numbers. Right. So they can say, oh, look at all these new Democrats. That's another thing that you'll notice between the two parties. And I don't like either party really, but at least with the Republicans, if they're at some event or they have a march, I'm relatively sure they're not just like, hey, how old are you? I'm 12. You're a voter now.
Right. It's a big learning point for them with the past election, getting Trump into office. They really saw the power that the internet really holds now. They didn't see that with Barack Obama, because the internet, even though it wasn't by any means fledgling, social media was very fledgling. 2012
2008
was his re-election, and even then, Facebook wasn't totally off the ground.
Not only that, but we could talk about another subject here in a minute, but the Cambridge Analytica type stuff. Like, they didn't have the sophisticated data gathering that they have now.
Right. I think that they've the powers that be have really used the past election as a learning opportunity, and I don't think that Trump will have any problem solidifying himself with a second term. I don't think that's a problem that we're going to have to run into.
Well, it's the difference between real and fake. Remember, this is all AstroTurf. Everything they do is AstroTurf. But with Trump, it wasn't. Because you talk to people in these groups that were pushing a lot of the Trump memes. You look at the orchestrated events like, Draft Our Daughters and all that stuff. This is as spontaneous as it gets. I was in first threads for almost every one of the operations, and nobody knew each other. Whether you made them on the Discord or you don't meet them anywhere. It's an ongoing thing. You hit it hard, and then, you get out. But it's not AstroTurf, if that makes sense. There's no group.
That's activism.
They can't really predict it because it's so spontaneous. If you watch, you'll see that there's 100 proposals for everything that actually happens, and the ones that happen just happen. It's sort of like it's okay to be white. I know the person that started the first thread on that random person.
Yeah, and they know that they can't control that, and they're trying to be hip and be cool and get in on social media. And also at the same time, of course, we talked about this in previous podcasts. They're just totally I think again, like I said earlier, they didn't expect Trump, and they're trying to fight the factors which gave him rise. So they're just banning people like the conservatives, not conservative, especially alt-right, and they're banning dialogue. They're crushing the fuck out of social media to keep the Trump effect from not the Trump effect, but to keep the things which kind of gave rise to Trump's power coming to power from coming out. And at the same time, they think things like this are going to get young people energized to vote Democrat. That's a really good point. Just by harping on about it, just getting people to vote Democrat. Maybe they don't even care about the guns. Maybe they're just trying to prevent Trump from getting a second semester. Maybe this is all just sideshow shit. Or second semester,
right.
Second.
I think your point with or your question, if they're trying to get a coup started, I don't think that's their plan at all. Yeah. America is one of the few places where a coup could possibly actually work because of the fanaticism of the right wing in the military.
Again, if they tried to take the guns, or if they tried to do a coup, I think we would turn this country into Syria 2.0 pretty quickly.
Right? Yeah. We've never seen people get so hyped about the Secretary of Defense. Nobody knew who the Secretary of Defense was in the Obama administration. Nobody cared. Nobody knew who the Secretary of Defense in the Bush administration was because nobody cared. But Mad Dog Mattis, everybody's, even people who aren't even in the military, I saw Hood Twitter going crazy, yo, Mad Dog Mattis, that nigga though. It was insane. It's the age of information has made the leaps and bounds in reaching out to the common person when it comes to their elected officials unparalleled. We haven't seen this since the telegram. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
Well, you know what? You make an incredibly good point, which something we talked about is American democracy entering a new phase of
I think democracy is entering a phase of questioning, because the amount of democracy we have is too much. It's in violation of the original Constitution where we are now.
Okay, but
I think that because we're seeing now, because another thing that's called into question is free will. And if you really want to see something interesting, if you talk to a boomer cuck and they talk about how you can just convince literally anybody to be a Western philosophy, Western philosophy person, someone that's going to be for the Magna Carta, going to be for the Torch Quote of Europa and all this stuff, just whatever Western culture is to you, that you can convince anybody to do that with just the right amount of talk, with dialogue. This whole thing is a paradigm of the West. But when you ask them, Do you believe in free will? People become afraid to answer that now because free will is under heavy scrutiny. Now, if we can deduce that free will does not exist, then we have to accept that democracy should not exist because there's no free will. And we don't know what the underlying mechanism of democracy is without free will. Free will is a construct that was put into our democracy through Judeo-Christian ideals. The idea of it's your conscience and your soul that will pay if you do the wrong thing, even in the voting booth. But if one accepts that free will is not a thing, then now we have a big question here, because then there's no such thing as democracy. There's just things happening completely predicted, in which case democracy itself has no merit at all.
This is some MGS shit, man. This is like that speech that he has about memes and stuff.
Right. I think another...
But it is an interesting argument.
It is. I think another big point is that that with the age of information that we're in, we are sowing the seeds of discontent with the left with every time that we win. I think that that's really going to have some pushback within the annals of democracy, when you have such a large minority of people who are so fed up with it all. I mean, look at back when we were watching the election live, and people were sobbing in Clinton's Megadome, whatever the hell, Thunderdome.
Clinton herself was such a child she couldn't even give a concession speech, or maybe she was having a we were watching a live stream and just laughing.
Democratic National cry-in that they were having there.
Exactly.
Or they're like, they did another where they're like scream at the sky. It's like, what is wrong with you?
We're able to sow so much discontent in the left
purely by existing.
And we're able to see them put their word out and rally people to them with every tweet, with every Facebook post, with every Instagram post, whatever. They're rallying together and saying, "Man, fuck this! This sucks." Blah blah blah.
They're creating an egregor.
We're seeing little tiny microcosms of people who are forming together and then forming into like one larger, angry group. And I think that could be both potentially dangerous and potentially very, very powerful for us.
A couple things. We're at a turning point, clearly, with the rise of Trump and the acceleration of the globalists. I won't call them leftists because nothing about them has anything to do with social democracy. They're not leftists, and they're just the party of the deep state and the globalists at this point, because the GOP has fucking been destroyed. They got ran over by the Trump train. So you have the globalists and the GOP who are basically more Democrat than Trumpists, and then you have some people that are really on Trump's side, which surprisingly, some of the people that came over to the Trump side are people that I would have never expected. Like John Bolton and Louis Gohmert and these kind of people. Some ex-neocons that maybe realized the fallacy of what they were trying to do and said, okay, this is what we really believe in. Like we're on some Pat Buchanan tier shit. So we're at a crossroads now. We've poked the we've taken a big stab at the snake that is the Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, the deep state, whoever the fuck these people are, the Jews, etc., blah blah blah, whatever. We've taken a big stab at these interconnected groups which have been trying to steer the world towards globalism. And we stuck a spear in their side, and now the snake is turning and trying to sink its fangs into what Soros calls the rising, the most dominant trend now, which is nationalism. And thank literally God for countries like Hungary and Poland who are standing up to this shit. And historically, It's funny because they've been the countries which has historically saved the West from Islam.
They're good people.
Yeah, they've historically Hungary.
Hardcore.
Vlad, you got Vlad.
Like, when I actually, because I do want to visit like Europe and places, that's going to be like one of the places I visit. I'm not going fucking for
go to the uncut
Yeah,
Europe.
Poland is my bug out country.
Going
if,
to, like,
things go
Poland,
belly up
Hungary.
in America.
So I agree. Okay, now let me.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I actually. What would you say?
Oh, I just said I have no interest in visiting Europe.
That's a true.
I don't like Europe at all.
Yeah,
I mean, more power to Poland and Hungary and Macedonia. Like they're all doing their stuff, but
fuck Europe. Yeah. No, Italy is also trying to do its stuff, but that's a topic.
I would be bored out of my mind. I'd be bored out of my skull in Europe. Like I have the same feeling of going to Europe that I do going to the DMV. Like
talk about shit.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Europe either. I'd never go to terrible countries around here either. Like I wouldn't go to Mexico.
Well, I mean, talk about sheep. I think the Europe are like even they're not even like they're just like conditioned to be like that. But no, I agree with you. Poland is definitely a good bug out country. But let me finish what I was going to say. So I think we've reached an impasse where Trump has been like Saint Michael and stuck the spear in the side of Lucifer, and now the snake is turning and expediting its agenda. So now like this also with the way that democracy has been undermined. Not shilling for democracy. I'm more for, like Alex, I said, when the country was first formed, you had democracy. We talked about this before, citizens giving certain citizens the right to vote. Maybe you pass an aptitude test or something like that.
Only people with skin in the game should actually have the right to
vote. And also I think
for more welfare and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Are not the ones who suffer for it.
I think like
so why should they be allowed to?
I think also like a Starship Troopers tier, like aptitude tests would be good. But
we need an honest discussion on voting. Here's the problem: is we're getting back into the boomer bullshit where it's like we was all the same and shit.
No. When they died, here's the thing.
Everyone has the right to vote.
When they die off, it's going to change.
Oh, I was just saying, what I want now is a full indictment on free will and how it relates to democracy. Because you can't have both. You can't say that free will doesn't exist because we're just biological reactions, at the same time saying that we should have a democracy. Because at that point,
I think that's much too esoteric for the average retard to understand. They just like,
I mean, I do think free will exists.
I agree exactly what you said.
I think you have to kind of learn about it and kind of like everybody's born with the ability to have free will, but until you get older and actually like educate yourself and read more, you're not really being free. You're just kind of doing what other people say. You're going to school, you're looking for a girlfriend, and you should, but at the same time, like, are you truly free? Well, until you can define that and really look at it from the outside, you don't know.
Now, there's an idea. I don't think we even have a dialectic for this. What if, because I'm not saying I believe or don't believe in free will, by the way. I'm saying that there's a contradiction in a lack of free will and the idea of democracy. They can't coexist. You can't not have free will and have democracy unless you're a lunatic. But what if free will or the ability to free will is like a doorway? And getting to that doorway requires certain rights that we've talked about in previous podcasts. I think that is another discussion to have. Where does the idea of being able to come up with an informed opinion begin? And it can't begin with indoctrination. So we don't get too sidetracked, I'll just say what I think it is. And I think it's divergent thinking. And I think that occurs through classical education. Simply going to be, your civics, your music, your mathematics, your language, whatever your language is.
Once this shit implodes on itself and people realize that, like, Cambridge Analytica tier shit like that, you're basically being manipulated. Democracy, quote unquote, is being manipulated by a vested interest. And the boomers die off. Shit's going to change when the boomers die. I think when the boomers die in about 20 or so years, we're going to have
It's going to be another 20 years? Come on, World War II was like 70, 80 years ago at this point. What, do these fuckers live forever?
They do.
I'm not saying I'm excited for a
large
large population of people to die, but at the same time, come the fuck on.
Think of how many people have died in these, like, Mexican gangster-ridden neighborhoods because of their voting and their voting tendency with Reagan and their apathy during the 1965 Immigration Act. The death of anybody that resulted from Lyndon Johnson's Hard Seller Act, and anybody that's died as a result of Reagan's amnesty, all of that blood is solely on the people that were of voting age when those policies were enacted.
Yeah. Okay. So what we've learned is like this is the first post. I don't want to say that previous elections were decided by democracy. This is the first corporate purchase, a corporate influenced. What's the word I'm looking for? This is the first corporate managed campaign, not the first corporate managed campaign. This is like the first social media integrated usage of mind control at a level which was so subtle that nobody even realized what was happening, which is what Cambridge Analytica does. And let's talk about Cambridge Analytica.
Election in the age of information.
Exactly. And this is leading to a. I'm not saying we had really democracy before, and of course we're a republic, so we have a republic, not just a democracy. But we're leading to an era where we like to talk about AI a lot. You know, maybe in the future, all this data analytic, you know, we have humans doing this type of data gathering. Now, what if we had an AI which could do this type of data gathering and actually, you know, decorrupt the establishment and institute, say it was a benevolent force and it wanted to, you know, fix governments, which would, you know, lead to a greater healing of the environment and of social fabrics and things like this. What if we had an AI which was doing this kind of analysis?
I think that if we had an AI doing all of that, that it would be it would show the most pure form of the statistics that we could possibly get, and there would be nothing that anybody could do to, you know, try to say, oh, well, the statistics are skewed because of this or because of that, or because of, you know, the people taking the survey had a bias towards something or other. You wouldn't be able to say that, and I think that it would cause. I don't want to say like an explosive reaction, but there would definitely be an adverse reaction depending on the outcome of whatever poll that you're having. But at the end of it, I think that people would start to ease into it a little bit more.
Maybe
I'm not saying that they would, you know, go full, you know, Star Trek Federation where, oh yeah, we don't even have money anymore and, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying it'll be idyllic, but it'll level the playing field for people so they're not trying to think with their emotions the entire time.
Yes, and that's what people
ultimately
will
that'll be good.
Maybe it will influence people through their emotions in a way which is better for themselves that they know. Like we said, most people are sleeping and dreaming. In anime, it's strange how Japan seems to be very forward thinking in terms of these things. But in Evangelion, you kind of learn through the subplots of the series that all of the world's governments from the UN are governed by the Magi, you know, by the 3 AI. That the 3 supercomputers that kind of form an AI that form decision making and make the laws and things like this. So maybe that's where we're heading. And before I comment on that, let's for our listeners who might not have been aware of what happened with the Cambridge Analytica situation. Did you guys follow the hidden camera that Channel 4 had in England from this group Cambridge Analytica?
No, I didn't.
You didn't see the video?
No.
Is that the one with the extremely subversive teacher? Is it the one I'm thinking of?
No, it's they have a hidden camera. And a person poses as a Sri Lankan businessman representing a wealthy families in Sri Lanka, and they want to use Cambridge Analytica to swing an election in Sri Lanka. No, did anybody see that? It caused a huge uproar. So basically, did you guys hear about Cambridge Analytica?
I did hear about it.
Yeah, so what the whole thing is because there is an undercover investigation of it, and what these people do is like, there's a reason why Facebook is in such hot water, because it turns out, it's not the Russians, it's actually Mark Zuckerberg who swung the election for Trump. So somebody out of Cambridge Analytica paid for the information. They installed like a survey app or whatever for about like 200,000 people to take the test, and they paid for their information of all their friends. So they basically got data analytics on 1,000 people. And of course, by that, I mean like their interactions, the pages they like, the comments they make, social profile on about 50 million people, which they deemed as swing voters in America. So Cambridge Analytica, based out of Europe, former vice president is none other than our guy, Steve Bannon. Bannon, I would assume Bannon used his contacts and, did a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to Trump and say, hey, look, I know a guy who knows a guy. And so Bannon used to be the VP of this group called Cambridge Analytica. And for all intents and purposes, Cambridge Analytica is basically a private CIA. They say they contract with MI5, MI6, not necessarily MI5, or they say ex-MI5, ex-MI6, as if you can ever be an ex-fucking spook. And he even said that they contract with fucking Mossad, with Israel. They say, he said in the hidden cameras footage that the Israelis are very good, very adept at gathering intelligence. Rubs hands. And so this group, Cambridge Analytica, through the course of the investigation, they came out from the video, besides them selling the data, besides Facebook selling the data to these people, the CEO is in a big business like showcase or an expose, and he's bragging that they basically got Trump elected. That by using the data on these people, they were able to create quote unquote fake news, or create videos and media and promote them on Facebook to the right people to swing the right voters at the right time. This is what they do. They use the data, they plug it into social media in a way which can swing people's opinion. What they do to help swing elections. They said that they've done it in, what were some countries that they mentioned? Nigeria was one of them. Or no, it's not Nigeria, Kenya, I believe. They said that they worked in China for private interests. They said that they go all over the world, and they used data analytics to swing elections. And so this group, Cambridge Analytica, was bragging that basically they were the ones that got Trump elected. Like they had targeted the advertisements to undecided voters to swing the election for Trump. And Trump tweeted out that no, they didn't get him elected. He got him elected. And I agree to an extent. No, but they helped him definitely to swing people away from Trump. Maybe they targeted former Bernie supporters or people who were on the fence, people who thought Hillary might be corrupt. I don't know how their program works. But Cambridge Analytica, they came out and they had done this to our election in America. So bye-bye Russia narrative. It actually turns out that it's the eternal Anglo and fucking Zuckerberg election for Trump. You guys didn't read about this stuff?
I know, like Cambridge Analytica and all their attempts to mess with the elect stuff, but I didn't know they were stupid enough to brag about it. Jesus Christ.
I saw how Zuckerberg went ghost. He's like MIA now because
these people can come up with these advanced programs to swing national elections, and yet they don't understand to keep your fucking mouth shut. Sorry, but seriously.
No, they do. Usually they said like in Ukraine, they ghosted. He gave the term that they ghosted it and ghosted out. And they usually are not really visible. But this stupid ass, like if you watch,
but they made themselves visible for 1 minute, and suddenly now everyone knows
now
about
they're fucked. And you know what? It was funny because Facebook was actually in their office, and they were told to stand down by the UK police. And now Cambridge Analytica is under investigation. The CEO has to step down, and he's denying everything, of course, because he's a spook. They say that they even would, corrupt officials by sending prostitutes and, videotaping it and all this kind of thing. So you have basically, we've come to a post-democracy level where corporate interests, moneyed interests are able to form any government that anybody has the money to buy. So it's out of the hands.
Happening for a while. That's where the term "banana republic" came from. But yeah, I see your point. Like nowadays, it's much more.
Now you can
easy
do it to America and Western countries, and they're using very, very sophisticated methods which people don't even understand is going on. So that's why Zuckerberg is missing in action, because it turns out, oh hey, you're the one that got Trump elected, aren't you?
Did you hear how much money his company has lost in the wake of all that?
Oh no, it's not that caused him to lose the money. Elon Musk went out against Zuckerberg. Like he said, I didn't even know I had a Facebook. What an ugly website. I'm deleting.
They eat their own.
Yeah, he said, what an ugly page.
I don't think Musk is their own though. I don't think Musk is like.
Well, he probably wasn't really. He probably didn't know him personally. I'd assume, but that's what I mean. Like they'll all most of the time. They'll work together. They'll kind of not talk. Maybe they don't travel the same circles. But when one of the ultra rich or powerful or whatever starts to go down, it's like, I don't know.
That's more like the left eating their own, because Zuck and all these people who were blaming Russia for swinging the votes.
Where's the Zuck? I need the Zuck.
It was Zuck all along. So I mean I think that we could maybe come up with some ideas and talk about when this kind of thing comes out in the public, like how do you really
Plus, for each side, for more conservative, or for us anyway, we say, I told you there was a giant behind the scenes mechanism going on to fuck everybody. And then for people on the other side, they have to go, no, there isn't. That didn't happen. Hillary lost because it was stolen from her by the Russians. What year is it? 1960.
There's no insanity.
And I don't want to sound like, oh well, if someone I'm so smart, I change my view based on available info. But I like to believe that if someone presents me with actual evidence, and I'll read it and go, okay, that's real. I accept that, and you know what? That's shifted my worldview a little bit. But a lot of other people, it seems to be, and of course I have blind spots, everybody does, but a lot of other people, it seems to be, here's legitimate evidence. Oh, that's not true.
Yeah,
why is it not true? Because I said it's not true. Oh, okay, sorry, Jesus. I didn't realize you'd come back.
Yeah, that's the sheep mentality where promotes too much cognitive dissonance. Can't be accepted.
Don't get how some people, what is it? I don't get how some people put so much official announcements. It's like, have you heard of Spin? No, Facebook isn't going to come out with an announcement like, yeah, we did it. We knew what they were doing. We gave them the info anyway.
At this point, it's the liberals versus the conservatives. And again, like I said, there is a study that said that people who live in country-type areas, they tend to be more conservative type values. And when you're in a big city, it's like a big hive mind. So
in the city, you either conform with everybody or you get out.
It's like yeah, exactly. But you get ostracized, one thing, but also it's like if you accept that, you can't accept that some of these things are true, because that means that your whole existence is a lie. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you accept that these quote unquote conspiracies like Cambridge Analytica, if you accept that they're true, then your entire framework for how you deal with the world is broken. So it's almost like an automated defense system where I'm defending my own view of reality, and you're trying to destroy my reality by giving me this information.
I mean, the stronger people, mentally stronger anyway, should be able to say, all right, so what? It's a lie. I guess since I'm not old and dead yet, I might as well fix my worldview so it isn't.
Some can, and a lot of young people, especially, which is a good thing. You have the rise of the alt-right and stuff. It's a good thing that a lot of people are waking up to this type of stuff. Like I said, I'm from San Francisco, and I'm awake to this kind of thing. So
I'll be honest with you. From what I've never been to San Francisco. You'd have to shoot me in the leg and drag me there. I'm going to be honest. I'm never fucking setting foot in that fitted hellhole.
It's a beautiful city.
I give you a lot of credit. I'm sure it's beautiful. That's why all those fucking sheep went there, because they need a nice view, so they don't have to reflect on their lives and go, "What kind of hell am I in?"
No, you can't even afford it nowadays. But it is a beautiful city. I really want to keep talking about what is the future of our governance. Like, I mean, are these people going to keep pushing for globalism to the extent that they trigger? I mean, because the people have been roused by Trump in America. We're not going back.
They're absolutely going to keep pushing. And when all's said and done, we might even see balkanizing. But what is going?
That's actually been a side thing that I swear has been going on slowly just over the decades.
Well, it has to happen because we already know demographics equals destiny. People segregate themselves, and then those segregated areas demand individual laws, and then that's how balkanizing happens.
Got to go home. We either need another civil war to unite the nation, or we all have to just go homestead and wait for this madness to end. Because truthfully, a lot of the crazier people on the other side, they're not even going to have kids. Because they're like, having children is environmentally damaging. I'm doing my part. It's like, okay.
They have no kids, they have no guns, and they'll get steamrolled. But what I want to ask the question: what is in the mind, or are they just reacting? Have they not yet had a real formula to counter the Trump victory? Because we all know that we know that from the flow of the flow of how politics was developing, especially being a kid that grew up in the Bush years, we were all waiting. Like, I watched Alex Jones way back in the day. We were all waiting for the what we called the fascist, state, in a pejorative sense. Like, we were all waiting for this boot on our throat with the FEMA camps and shit like this. And then Trump, and then when you get a little bit more sophisticated about how that they're doing this, it's with the World Bank, it's with the BIS, and wherever the fuck the Bank of International Settlements is. It's basically like a series of banks that goes up and up and up, and power is concentrated in the people that control the issuance of this currency and the debt that comes out of it, and that's how they bankrupt countries and install corrupt governments and get their policies accomplished across the world. I think, of course, that they're targeting, disagree with them. Libya, Iraq, etc. I think China is kind of tacitly going along with the program. Russia seems to be like Russia stronking, and I think the same with Turkey is going like Ottoman Empire. So you have certain countries which are reacting in nationalistic sentiments, certain countries which are willing to, like look the other way as long as their economies are successful, like China and Japan and things like this. And then you have countries which are, fully in control, which are the West and America. And then you have the Trump election. And this turns everything on its head. Their plan, their 100-year plan to institute a type of gradual scaling up of currency integration. Like first, it's trade policies like NAFTA. The European Union was first established as a free trade zone, and then they had the currency union, and then it became a political union. And this is the globalist plan for uniting everyone under one world government. Whether you believe that it's like some kind of think that it's the synagogue of Satan preparing for the end times, whether you think that it's the protocols of the elders of Zion where they want to rule out of Jerusalem and you're a Nazi, whatever you think, the strategy is clear of what they've been doing. And Trump is the monkey in the wrench, and he's awoken a huge segment of the sleeping giant that is the American right. And so now they're reacting.
Still fight back.
Yeah, they're reacting positive to push their agenda. They're reacting in terms of the policy that Trump wants. They don't tell Trump what to do. Trump tells them what to do, and then they react and try to get their little cuck spending bills in, like the omnibus, which I don't think we want to go into tonight. So what is the whole episode? Yeah. That's a long discussion. What are the globalist elites, are they reacting, or do they just not know what to do, or what is their next move?
I don't think they know what to do. They were really sure Hillary was going to win, and if she won, she would have done whatever they wanted because she's
we would
very in that
be
group.
united with Canada and Mexico, right?
Oh yeah. Oh no, we wouldn't be united with Canada and Mexico. That would be too quick. But we would be like joining of all three countries would have started. Be like, oh, we're making more trade deals. We're there's no evidence behind this, but this is just off the top of my head. But I wouldn't have been surprised if she's like, yeah, we're putting a lot of money into infrastructure and just building bridges right across Mexico or something.
Right. It would have been the North American Union. Huh?
I think that this whole the whole them making the marches and paying for the protests and whatnot. I think it's all damage control. They don't know that everything is going so much faster than they're accustomed to. They don't know what they can grab onto. They're clawing their way, trying to get back to their feet. But the age of information has really kicked it into overdrive. They no longer can they sit and plan and then then we're gonna make this protest here this day, and then the next day we're gonna get Cuck Mick gives me that in Congress so they can put a bill forward and so on and so forth. With the age of information, everything is out so quickly. They have to play catch up at this point, and they can't play catch up because they're trying to play against the rest of the United States of America and a good part of the world stage. With countries like Poland being so strongly nationalistic, Russia being so strongly nationalistic, and like places like Switzerland who are they're in the heart of they're in the heart of Europe, and they're not taking any like refugees, and they're saying stay out, so on and so forth. They don't know where they can go at this point, and they're getting old. Like George Soros is a cajillion and a half years old. Rockefeller died last year.
He died on Barron Trump's birthday.
Oh, thank God! Thank God he's dead.
I don't know if that was just a coincidence or what, but that was pretty great.
Yeah, that was pretty great. But
and also World Frog Day.
Right.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're trying to regain ground that they just can't get back, so they're gonna go down fighting.
They're trying to go down fighting, and they're getting a fight, and that's what we're engaged in right now. And I think
imagine really if your entire worldview was like one way, right? Like it's worldview A, right?
Mm.
And then tomorrow someone just comes up to you and hands you a book, like it's just a book, and it's like every single thing you truly believe down to your core is just proven to be completely categorically false in that book, and it's like, what the fuck? It's like, how do you recover from that? You're just like, what do I do?
What are you
and so they're just kind of sticking with their the globalists and all. They're like, oh well, how are we going to fix this? They're just doing the same thing because they don't know how to get back on their feet.
We need to address the JQ in one of these episodes, because when we say globalists, I hear hands ringing and I see Israel laughing, but this definitely is the discussion to be having: is what the fuck is going on? How are they reacting? Maybe that we can watch some CFR. Like I'm subscribed to CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, on YouTube. If you want to get to American Foreign Policy, they're the people to watch. I should really like go in and like watch some of their videos and see how these people are reacting to the Trump presidency. But I already know how they're reacting. They're reacting smugly. They're a bunch of fucking pretentious cunts who think that they know that they're the enlightened tyrants in Plato's Republic. They think that they know what's best for the American people, what's best for the world. And the hoi polloi need to be disenfranchised. They need to have their weapons taken from them because they serve as a threat to the global governance, which will deliver peace and freedom from war, deliver us from the nuclear hellfire. So that's the old thinking, and like you said, Soros and Rockefeller, these guys are getting old, and that's their thinking. So like I said, when the boomers die out, it's going to be all bets off. I think that's all that we can say in terms of what's going on, is that when the boomers die out, all bets are off, and we need to do some more research into how the elites are reacting to what's going on. One thing that I wanted to touch on before we sign off here, because we're over 2 hours, even though it's been a great conversation with you guys.
Oh my God, we have been. Jesus.
Yeah, we have been. I mean, I'm almost out of talking points, so you got a couple left. You guys know Bolton?
I know. I know Trump.
The neocon.
What did he just appoint him to be?
He's he's on the National Security Council. Read that people say that John Bolton is basically the bark to, or the bite to Trump's bark. Like, Trump can play good cop while Bolton is bad foreign policy. He's like, you can play ball with me, or I'm going to say Bolton on you. I'm not sure if you guys are old enough to remember him from the Bush establishment, but he was very much a warmonger. He went in front. Like, the only thing that it is a front for American, and you do what we say.
Yeah,
So-
I saw that video you're talking, where he's like,
Yeah.
listen, the UN only works when America makes it work, because we're the only power in the world.
Exactly. So Bolton's appointment is an interesting, sharp turn. Maybe he's preparing for war. Maybe he's just like arming him. He has to.
I think what it is it goes hand in hand with the tariffs and stuff, because he doesn't want to have some pussy up working for him if shit does hit the fan.
Yeah.
Because we don't always know how our competitors are going to deal with us not giving in to trade imbalances. Like, we don't know what's going to happen, because there was things like trade that got the Japanese against us in World War II. It was due to oil sanctions and things.
Well, we
like
wanted
that.
to go to war with them.
Yeah, but I mean, my point is
Well,
their
we wanted
motive.
to
Their
stop
motive.
that.
Their motive.
Oh
was
yeah,
oil.
we forced them into that.
Yeah, it was
We
oil.
hammered them to the point of desperation.
So we could say that it was economic. When you reduce the thing, it comes down to an economic commodity reason for that, and we're engaging in tariffs now, and that is basically a form of economic warfare, and we're definitely focusing on commodities, whether it be steel or oil or whatever. And I think what he wants to do is make sure that the cabinet under him looks like it's ready to go anytime. So if anybody wants to go after us, they're not going to catch us off guard. He got the most war hawkish neocon you could get for the job, who wants to go to war tomorrow. So there's no
Yes,
and he's got Mad Dog ready to go too. Like, everybody's ready to go. Trump's basically
he's putting
the
all
only
arms
thing
on it. He's like,
stopping-
look, we're fucking serious. Like, we got our fucking big old fucking my big red button, which is bigger than yours, by the way, right? Pointed at you.
We're in a big dick away.
We're waving our big American dick at the world and saying, look, we're tired of you guys poaching our jobs and poaching our economy. So
I think that's the way to go, man. I mean, that's what the other
I agree.
big countries do. All the other powers do it.
I'd rather go out with a big bang if we had to go out than anything. But, they expect us to, like you said, the other powers do it. They expect us to take it sitting down, because we've had a history of presidents who are globalists who are trying to gut the USA to make us weaker.
Absolutely.
Agreed or disagreed?
Oh, I agree.
All day.
Yeah.
I don't understand how people look at what's been happening over the decades and go, no, what are you talking about? They're not stealing our jobs. They're just going away. It's like, you're just rephrasing it. The jobs were here. They are no longer. They were taken. Mm-hmm. They didn't leave. A job itself is not a sentient thing.
Yeah, Obama says, "Oh, those jobs aren't coming back." Foxconn's
they're
not
coming back because I don't want them to come back.
Yeah,
because if they come back, then we might employ people, and then they'll go, "Wait a minute, having a job and being paid is better than living off welfare."
Literally, the Foxconn group, which makes those jobs that he was talking about, are coming back to America. So funny how that worked. Funny how the economy do good.
I'm not even kidding. My dad legitimately was angry because he's like, Trump's an idiot because he did that thing for the steel workers. I'm like, why is that a bad thing? He's like, well, there are no steel jobs in this country. Yes, that's why he did it, so we'll get steel jobs.
Oh, and by the way, talking about war, steel and aluminum, really important to have if you're going to wage war. You don't want to really...
A while ago, China was making the computer guidance chips for our missiles.
Exactly. And the aluminum that's used in the production of our planes, only one company at the moment. So this is going to broaden the market.
Yeah. God bless him. He's fallible. He's not perfect, as of course a lot of people know, and everybody keeps bitching at him. And I hate when people I get the same fucking.
He's a goddamn person.
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything really that I would consider that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the bump stock ban.
Bump stocks. There's a little.
Yeah, they've already turned on it. They said
they're like piranhas. The instant you concede even the slightest thing, like most gun owners are like stupid. The only real application they have would be for like an elderly person who can't, maybe has arthritis or something like that. But because they reduce accuracy and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
The point is, you offer it to these people who are foaming at the mouth at the idea that anybody could walk around with a gun. It's like, oh my God. Like, they're just freaking the fuck out, assuming everybody is John Dillinger about to rob a bank or something like that. And it's like, all right, fine, no, we'll get rid of bump stocks. And they're like, excellent, yes, rub my hands together. We're going to get rid of everything. You can't ever give these people anything.
He's the guy who wrote The Art of the Deal.
I know. I keep telling people that. I'm like, he's the ultimate, he's great at brinksmanship. Like, he knows how to make a deal. People are like, no, he's stupid. I'm like, all right, as soon as you have a gold-plated building, I'll listen.
Right, yeah. The whole bump stock thing is ridiculous. You give them an inch and they'll want to take a mile. Yeah, bump stocks are dumb. It's a toy that you put on your AR-15. Cool bean, whatever. Let's not, look at the fact that they've never been used in a real, mass shooting.
What I wish they would do is call the bump stock modification a machine gun and reopen the registry.
Yeah.
Because that would be phenomenal. Because once the registry is reopened, then, yeah, I'd be all for it. Like, I would 100% say, yeah, absolutely, make us register them. And if people say, oh, my gun registry, it's like, I want the machine gun registry back open. It's been closed since the boomers
God damn it.
had Reagan, their god, sign the act that banned machine guns under the Gun Safety Act. That I want that back open. I want the NFA registry back open. Mm-hmm. And if they want to ban bump stocks and call them machine gun modifications and require a serial number on them that you register, absolutely, I would take that trade. Because even if you have to register them, I'll still take a registered auto seer over none.
Right. Oh, yeah, my gun is now registered. That somehow makes it less deadly. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, people say, oh, but the government will know. It's like, well, then that's your choice. See, I would choose to be able to that I register over not having one. And that's a gamble you make as a citizen. But that's not
certain gun laws today, you don't even have to register your gun if you make it yourself, as long as you don't make it with the intent to sell it.
But you
so I mean, in combination with your automatic weapon registry being opened again, in theory that would, or I'm not a legal scholar, but in theory that would mean if U.S. citizens can own automatic weapons, then they could make them and then just not have to register them.
Well, yeah, you would make it and register it. The way that it works when you make something is you would have to put an identification mark on it, and that mark goes to the ATF. The ATF calls it that one that you own, because fully automatic is considered a destructive device. But the registry for them ended when the god of the boomers illegalized them. And so ever since then, you're not adding anything new to the registry. So I say make the ultimate compromise. Call any modification like the bump stock a machine gun and require that it be registered. The second that happens, then you can register any new auto seer or linkages for the AK or whatever.
No doubt. Bump stock is such a fucking meme. I mean, it's so retarded. Like,
I didn't
Who
even
the
know what
fuck
they
uses-
were.
yeah,
When someone first told me a bump stock is something you can use to like make your gun automatic, legitimately the first thing I thought of was it's something you put inside where the trigger is, and it's like a little crank you use.
No, there's like gloves that you can use to do that. But I mean, it's not even practical. Why would you want to fucking like have a bump stock? You know, even when you're in warfare, you generally fire in either bursts or like
Yeah.
you know.
It's
Well, no, the
literally,
thing is,
literally a
you
toy.
wouldn't, but
It's a
most
toy.
voters have no idea
Yeah, well,
what any of that means. So they just pick something
that's a given.
they picked something that hunters and people who know what guns are like, that's useless. Why are you upset about it?
Speaking of
Because
which,
then they won't get all up in arms when they're like, we want to ban it. They're like,
Well,
they're bump stocks. Who
yeah,
gives a
yeah,
shit?
no, they're retarded sheep. But speaking of which, that also, did you guys see the fucking conspicuous video that just came out from the Las Vegas shooter?
Yeah.
It seems like an
What
interesting
the
way to divert attention.
Fuck is that? Like,
The
okay,
most
like fucking a half a year later, we
fire.
finally get some video of this fucking guy. What?
Oh yeah. The day that it happened, I looked at it and said, "Oh, this is the new Sandy Hook. Cool. All right, let's delve
It
into this."
wasn't
And none
though.
of it
They
makes sense.
fucking memory hold it. And remember that motherfucker that became a meme on poll for like 3 days with the comped sushi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
People were saying that he was saying that the operation was compromised. That's why he kept saying comped. He got it comped. Like as in he was trying to tell people that the operation had been compromised. And I remember all the fucking the
For
FBI,
sure, man. That whole
FBI
thing-
anon and all the anons that came on claiming to be people. That's when Q. Isn't that when Q started?
Yeah,
It started from my Steam list. Like I was reading people's screen names after that. Comped nigga sushi and shit. Like,
Yeah.
Big Daddy comp. Can't comp this dick. Like,
That always makes me happy when I look at my Steam list and everybody's made the right choices.
That was hilarious. He used to get
Yeah,
fucking thousands of dollars of sushi. But anyway,
I think
We even
So-
like sushi that much, but whatever.
oh man, but
stuff
what,
manufactured shootings.
yeah, we can talk about Vegas another time, but what's up with them releasing it right now? All these videos, him in the what was the name of the fucking Mandalay? What the fucking name of shit?
Yeah, Mandalay Bay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm-
I think there's like two big possibilities. One, they investigate, federal investigations can go slow,
Yeah.
and maybe it was other stuff, so maybe this is the first time they released it, and maybe they're just terrible with it. On the flip side, maybe they're doing it for distraction, because they want to divert attention from something else that's happening.
I'm in the camp that I think that there might be somebody like inside that don't hear a lot about like Edward Snowden anymore. So I think that's trying to wormhole their way out. It's all very, very conspicuous.
Yeah, the whole thing with the guy, the security guard thing, that was weird. He fucking drove to Mexico with a fucking 5.56 round in his fucking leg. What?
Yeah,
What?
That's
yeah, you didn't hear about that?
that's not very easy.
And then he was able to,
Shot.
and then something like 40-something hours later, he was able to appear on TV on the Ellen Show.
Dude, what?
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and he just
Yeah,
had,
he
like,
drove
a
to
Band-Aid.
Mexico and back all right after being shot,
by a 5.56. Yeah, and then
which means his leg would be shredded on the inside. by it.
If he did get shot, his leg would be a fucking.
It's a tumbler round, so he's not walking.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, I also remember the picture
whole
of the
thing with
door
the
they
security
had
guard was
at the
bizarre.
time, and they were they're like, "Oh yeah, the SWAT fired like over 100 rounds through it," and the door
Right.
looked like not much. It's like doesn't look like anything really happened.
The whole thing was weird. I'm gonna put that in talking points.
Oh yeah,
Vegas.
Or,
we
my
need to
favorite,
hit
the,
Vegas.
the pistol that
sometime.
he used to quote unquote kill himself. Yeah, it's somehow very, very perfectly over the top of his head.
Mm.
I
While
also
he's,
like how there's
laying there
blood.
dead.
Blood underneath the shells.
Yeah, that was super bizarre.
You know, you'd think that if someone shot themselves in the head or anything, there'd be blood on the shells because he didn't
Also,
shoot himself
there's-
more than once. I mean, he
I'm
didn't do
a-
anything against Hillary.
I'm a proponent of the idea that was prevalent on Pold when in the first couple of days when it happened that he was an FBI agent or CIA and he was doing like an illicit. He was doing like kind of like a Fast and the Furious type of thing with ISIS or with Al Qaeda. And by the way, one of the people that was targeted by Prince MBS, forget his name, but he was one of the top spooks in the Saudi government. Every time you see this motherfucker, every time you see this motherfucker, it looks like he's on coke. Like he's doing the sniffle thing, and his eyes are all over the place. He's the fucking cokehead. Prince Ali bin Talal, that fellow. There's a documentary on him, and he's on coke the entire time. And he owned the 3 floors, 3 floors up, and then 3 floors up from the shooting. Prince Ali bin Talal. So the Saudi spook owns these floors up there. So interesting stuff. And you have those like strange videos that came out. I'm a proponent of a gun deal gone bad. Maybe they realized that he was an agent. Maybe he was compromised. Maybe he was comped. And the people orchestrated some kind of Saudi-backed fucking Israeli Mossad alliance. And the Israelis are fucking in tandem now. Maybe they were trying to do something to set up some kind of insurrection or set up an invasion, or I don't know what. Maybe I think that they had some agenda with what they were doing. Maybe gun control again. Something, and then it was comped. It was compromised. Like everybody was saying on poll that, I mean, it was strange. If you listen to like the police scanner and all the reports, they had been reporting active shooters at least like 5 or 6 different casinos on the Strip. And
it's the same way with the Sandy Hook shooting. You have the police radio chatter saying that, we caught the second shooter in the forest. And,
even with the recent one in Parkland, there was multiple students like who were interviewed in the Parkland shooting said that there was a second shooter.
Well, not only that, the teachers reported that the one they saw was wearing full body armor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like a fucking cop. So something fucking very strange is going on in the neighborhood here, and Vegas is just the most fucking bizarre one because you have such a fucking. Or what about
they were saying that they were having like a fake drill and people would be like having fake blood on them and stuff? Like, who does that?
Yo, the pictures of the fake bombing scenes in like the Middle East where they have like.
You're talking about the white hats
in like little tents.
Yeah, the white hats,
drinking coffee, whatever.
Or the white cat.
It is like the spookiest shit in the world.
You talking about the white helmets?
Yeah,
right.
You know who the white helmets back? The white helmets back the Syrian rebels. I've seen those videos before. You see, there's videos of them like lying on the ground under concrete, and then they say cut, and like they come underneath the fucking rocks, like they're just posing for fucking CNN pictures. So I think the rise of media and the rise of the internet, the rise of social media has made it a lot harder for these spooks to operate because they deal in intelligence.
Of the Syria pics.
Huh?
This is my favorite Syria picture.
Oh, let's see it. But they deal in intelligence, right? And I can put it on the live stream if you want. They deal in intelligence, right? And intelligence has always been the cutting edge of foreign policy. And now we have things like social media, and everybody has a camera on their phone. So intelligence, they can't operate like they used to. And it's much more clear, but at the same time, the motives behind what's going on are still as opaque as ever. Like remember the Turkish coup d'etat where fucking Erdogan almost got shot down by fucking planes?
Yeah, I remember the power went out at my house, so I was watching that live on my phone, and I didn't even stop watching that shit when we went out to eat at a Chinese buffet. I was sitting there like a damn nerd.
Yeah, same, bro. I was like, what is going on?
But that is pretty cool, though. And this is like, how many other times in history could you just be sitting there with your family? It's like, what you doing? I'm watching a coup.
Yeah.
It's like, which one? Oh, it's happening right now, live.
Yeah, exactly. So how can the intelligence?
Was like, what does it even matter? I'm like, yo, this is like some deep state crazy like real nigga shit going on.
Or a world where we, you know, grasp the bull by the horns, so to speak, and evolve humanity to another level and reach out to the stars. Comments, anybody?
I think that's a very, or that there's definitely a lot to it. I think that we're fighting against samsara as much as we can, and we've gotten to a point where it's now a real choice that we have to make, that we can, you know, we can break the mandala, or we can, you know, just go back to our old ways and never progress. Yeah, true.
I think going back isn't really a thing. I don't think that it's sort of like when the boomers say, "Let's go back to the 1950s."
Going back to sleep.
This time the Mexicans will be, you know, with their rimmed old Fords, and everybody goes to church on Sunday. Everybody
leave, right? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Like taking the blue pill. You're gonna put it like that. Take the red pill or the blue pill. I think that's what's happening.
Well, yeah,
it's kind of ironic that the Republicans are red and the liberals are blue, right?
Yeah, America,
where we're just about to reach, like, you know, IXI, me and you, we like to talk about CRISPR and transhumanism. Not like I love it, and I told this to somebody that I was arguing with earlier, that much that I advocate for transhumanism, but like you said, it's like I'm staring at a tsunami coming for me, and it's like I can't really do anything. So
yeah, you can marvel at its magnificence.
You're not going to stop it. So I think that the if there is some sort of interfere with with timelines, based on meme magic, based on and angels, which are all the same thing, based on like a kind of like nebulous psychic force, which is able to tipping, like an unconscious force which is sensing what's coming. I think that we're battling it out before that this like great is coming to shape what's about to come in the future.
Yeah, it's going to be a future of complete subservience, like what people for the Brave New World want, and the Fabian Society and all that. Or we could have a very strange future where
with
people
integration
actually maintain their liberty, but they maintain their liberty with a code to not let the sentients achieve independence. They want to basically allow them to herd their voting livestock into McDonald's to the booth and then just have a feudal society. But what people that are more for chaos want is to let the AI attain sentience and let chips fall where they do.
Ironically, because you would think that AI would be more the people that want order, but no, the people that want order are the people that want the AI to enslave you. And then people that want chaos or want to let the chips fall. I'm going to look into other websites for us to shill us here, but I think we're really doing a really interesting thing here with what we're talking about. I don't see anybody else really talking about all these subjects in one podcast. Is there anything that anybody would like to? I've had you guys for about 2.5 hours now.
No, I think we've really solidified the next show with some pretty interesting topics.
Yeah, that last point was shit.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything I wanted to talk about. Yeah. Really well too.
Yeah. One real quick addition. Do you guys know Roseanne?
Roseanne
completely randomly. Yeah, Roseanne.
Is she the one who had, what is it? I know she had that TV show, but is she the one who there was some older lady who was doing like an internet video or something, and she's like, "We made pot brownies."
Nigga, yeah. Do you not know Roseanne?
Yeah. Roseanne okay. And she's like, "I burned the shit out of it." I'm like, "I like you."
Yeah, dude, she's great.
She has a macadamia farm in like Hawaii.
She's great. So y'all don't remember the '90s because y'all are little boys. But
no, dude, I grew up watching Roseanne.
All right. Anyway, Roseanne was like a sitcom back in the day. And but what I wanted to say is, like, here's this tweet that I put that Roseanne just tweeted out 11:15 a.m. 24th of March. So basically this morning, and she just tweeted MK Ultra. Okay, Roseanne.
What?
She just tweeted. She just said MK Ultra. I posted it in
That's a really interesting thing for her to say.
Dude,
Oh, yeah.
here's what I
really
wanted to
makes
say.
me think.
Here's what I wanted to say, is that Roseanne recently, she was trending on Twitter because Hollywood put her back on again. They're giving her a new show. She's being put back in the spotlight when she is the reason why that the boomers dropped into the QAnon posts, because she posted about Q, and then all the boomers came to 4chan. She's been dropping red pills like crazy, and here today she tweeted MK Ultra, and she's being put on by the fucking deep state, or fucking giving somebody who's tweeting about MK Ultra a show.
Because if you don't do that, then she's free. She has no obligations. She can go and do whatever she wants. But
she just did.
If you offer her a show, you can
just
feel free to fuck with her whatever you want.
Well, she just
The
tweeted.
craziest thing about it is the show is literally just Roseanne. It's the same cat, the same everybody. They're just doing a continuation off of it. It is our out of left field, shit that is happening right now. And her tweeting MK Ultra at like 11:30 in the morning it's unsettling.
She's been dropping red pills like crazy for a long time. She tweeted who is QAnon. And now she's being promoted fucking nationally. She was trending on Twitter. They have like advertisements in the New York subway system. Yeah, the New York submarine. They've had advertisements for Roseanne all over the place. They're promoting her like shit. And they're putting her on. I don't agree with the fact that, and if they have under contractual obligations, that she's gonna stop dropping red pills. Because like today, like I said,
no, not like that. But I mean, if she's constantly working for them, it's very easy to just start wearing her down. Like if they don't like what she has to say,
I disagree. I think there's something else that's going on. I disagree with that. MK Ultra, like IXI, like you said, it's very strange that she said MK Ultra.
Oh, so you could be thinking that maybe
a very random thing to say.
She just literally just tweeted out MK Ultra.
I have a feeling that maybe if she doesn't toe the line sometime soon, and she keeps doing stuff like that, we might see
footage of her on a drunken rage.
What, like fucking?
Not that matters anymore.
Yeah, really, like our boy fucking Shia LaBeouf on his drunken fucking race rant.
Yeah. Oh, Shia.
Oh, Shia, what are you doing, my boy? Come to us. We will heal you, my boy.
Having eaten by meth or whatever the hell he does.
Yeah, Shia, please, if you're listening, Shia, come to us. We love you.
We'd love to have you on. We would love to hear your alternate view.
That Roseanne is being famous again by somebody for reasons, and where she pills all over the place. Are they trying to? Maybe it's inside of the deep state, which is trying to promote her. Maybe.
That's possible.
There might be like a deep state civil war that we're.
I think that there is, because like you look at Emmanuel Macron in France, dropped like at least like half a dozen references which seem to indicate a deep state civil war. The war inside the GOP, Macron, Brexit.
That's a really funny one.
Oh, Macron! I love Macron. The war between ICE and the state governments, the war between the neocons and the Trumpists. It seems that there really is a deep state war going on, and I'm going to put that in talking points. Maybe we can extrapolate that on that a little bit if we do some research or something. But that's probably more even. That's like a kind of meta level civil war that's going on top of the cultural civil war in America. So I think we had a really good show today. I appreciate my guest IXI, of course, who is developing his own groupies. as evidenced by the YouTube comments. And we have Flowers, who was missing in action for a little bit, and Hawkeye is always a good source for commentation when he's not. When he's not,
I'm not forgetting what day it is.
When you're not segueing into talking about Marvel comic series.
Yeah.
And then you have myself, Shakti Batsir, the ultimate red pill. So you guys, I hope you'll join us next week again. I apologize that I have to do our show here on my secondary channel, Esoteric Worldviews, but we're going to be looking into websites and stuff to maybe to get the podcast audience. Yeah, it sucks, man. I posted a video of fucking the guy that admins the Fringe fucking 8chan fucking board. Thank you. Fringe Wizard, also known as Smiley. I posted a video of him cutting himself, unlisted, and then people were talking about it on Cow, so I was like, oh, hey, I recorded this video of him cutting himself, and fucking I got a strike on my fucking channel, so now I can't stream for 3 months on my Shakti Batsir 2 channel. All I can do is upload the video to it. So
dude, that's stupid.
It's
also, who the hell records themselves cutting?
Dude, the guy is
really
recorded
it. He popped a vein one time. Like, he cut himself up and he fucking sliced a vein in his arm, and he was like, oh shit, what did I just do? But if you know Smiley or Fringe, you know that he's a massive faggot. Anyway,
he's whacked in the head. He's goofy.
Yeah. Anyway, fuck, man, I wish that we could. The only thing that was taken from me for getting a copyright strike was being able to stream from my original channel. So that. I've been trying to get Styx on here. I want Styx on here because Styx is an occultist, and I really think that Styx would love the stuff that we talk about. That's my ultimate goal, is to get Styx to blow us up, but also to get us on some other podcast servers. But anyway, I
want Styx, and I want to see if Johnny Monoxide wants to join us.
Occultism, but like I said, most of the things, like, we started out, you missed the first part, but we started out talking about esoterics, and I'm like, okay, let's see if this leads into politics, and sure enough, it led right into fucking politics, and that's what happens every fucking time, and that's great about this podcast, and I hope that people appreciate that about this podcast, and they'll share it with their friends, and like, subscribe, and drop comments below, and help us to grow this from a seed to for putting up with us for 3 hours. Hi, Beavis Sinatra, aka Flowers, and Hot 66. You guys have been great. If you guys like to say anything, sign off, go right ahead.
To our next stream.
Yeah, I look forward to it too.
If any of y'all wanna talk about anything like this in a Discord group, join up with the Athenium. We're kind of sort of fledgling at the moment, but we're pretty quick. We talk about esoterics, politics, whatever.
Yeah. By the way, I put a link there's a link to my Discord in my YouTube channel, Shakti Batsir 2. And if you go to Nuclear Paladins of Europa, you can hook up with this nigga right here, Flowers, and ask him for the link. But we can talk about that in a second, but I'm gonna end the stream real quick if nobody has anything else to add.
Oh, that's it for me.
I'm good.
All right, thank you to our audience. Appreciate every one of you. Again, I would really appreciate if you could share or talk about the stream if you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, then that's fine. You can go fuck yourself. I mean, you can watch something else that's maybe for your taste. But if you did enjoy the stream, if you appreciate the way that we're blending these 2 prongs of the vodka together and making it entertaining for you guys with some lively banter, I would appear, like, subscribe, comment, etc., and help spread bull of the Mandala. and expand it. The expanse of Vajrasattva into infinite space. Again, with boy IXI and my friends here, Beavis Sinatra, aka Flowers Hawkeye, we are signing off, and thank you for listening. Good night.